Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Welcome, C3 Legion, to another edition of the C3 Panthers Podcast. As you can see, I am not Tony Dunn. The professor is taking a well-needed break. He's on vacation. He's getting some R&R before the season swings back into high gear. But we have an incredible slam-packed show of the C3 Panthers Podcast here in store for you tonight. Man, we are going to be in prime time against the Browns this Friday for a watch-along, by the way, that will take place on the free-for-all. We will be watching and reacting to the game. Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Cleveland Browns, so we will probably have the most eyes on us that we've had in a very long time. We have Derrick Brown and Hunter Renfrow still being sat out of practice on some precautionary details. Leighton Ransom is continuing to show up in a big way for the Carolina Panthers. All that and so much more. But you know I'm joined by the voice himself, my man, CK, Cody Allen. Cody, it was so great to see you at Panthers Fan Fest. It was a great time seeing you, your family, and the C3 Legion, and a lot of really interesting stuff that we saw at that Fan Fest, man. Happy to discuss it with you tonight.
Man, it's the first time we've had an opportunity to discuss what we saw at that only practice that fans are going to be able to witness throughout training camp. It's quite interesting to be able to come here with only 3 days left before the Panthers play. Even though it's preseason, it is valuable preseason snaps. And on top of that, to your dismay, the starters will be playing, and we will see live action from what this offense can do, which I think is incredibly important to the chemistry of a team. So it is good to be here talking about Panthers football and to be able to have the show that we have lined up, which is pretty sick.
Oh, man, listen, C3 has been on a crazy run of having some really awesome interviews. The other day, I was able to interview Alex Zeitler of the Charlotte Observer. He had some great information to give to us. Then on top of that, a couple of weeks ago, we had Wesley Walls, Panther legend, on the pod, talk to us about a bunch of different things pertaining to the Carolina Panthers. But if you have read the title and if you have seen the thumbnail, we have an incredible guest tonight. Fan favorite Jalen Coker's father, Jamal Coker, is on the show tonight, has blessed us with his presence. C3 Legion, give a warm welcome to Mr. Jamal Coker. Jamal, how are you, brother? Thank you so much.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the C3 Panthers Podcast. This has been incredible that you would even do this, man. We've been trying to continue to get more and more interviews as time goes on, but thank you so much for being here, man. And just, this is such an exciting time for your family and your son. I wanted to start our questioning by first asking you what it feels like to not only have your son on your favorite football team, but when did your fandom of the Carolina Panthers start? And walk us through how that started for you.
Well, just being a football fan for, a long time, growing up in South Carolina, unfortunately, we never really kind of had that team. So I actually grew up for a little bit of time a 49ers fan. So I grew up a Jerry Rice fan, for a long time, Joe Montana, all of them. And then when the Carolinas got that franchise team, I jumped ship, and been a fan ever since. And, through the ups and downs, no matter what, just keep pounding.
Absolutely. Can you walk us through I'm sort of jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but having the Carolina Panthers be your favorite team, describe to us a little bit what it must be like for your own flesh and blood, Jalen Coker, to be signed by the Carolina Panthers, and just walk us through a little bit what that initial elation must have felt like.
It's crazy. It was a crazy kind of experience. Of course, being a dad, all you want, especially if your son's trying to go to the draft, is to be drafted. So, I didn't matter. It didn't matter if he went to, Arizona, New York. It didn't matter. We were just going to be happy for him wherever he went. And so, for him to actually be a Carolina Panther, I had several people pinch me, during that whole process, because I thought I was dreaming. I feel like I was more excited than he was in the whole process. But it's a great feeling. So then you can see, your son in that blue or in that black, get on the field and just see those colors, and just, being a fan for so long, to see your son actually be on the team that you're a fan of, it's just it's a great feeling. And I don't know what it would have been like if he would have went somewhere like, Dallas or some, I don't know how I would do it, but I think I would probably do it. But if, it's just so great that things worked out the way they did. And I just couldn't be any more happy for him. He's looks like he's found a home. He's been embraced by, hundreds of thousands of, people, everybody from the community here. Every time I, run into anybody from the past or, or now, they're just so happy for Jalen, and, and just say all these great things about him. And, they always say that, how great a football player he is, but they always start off with saying how good of a person he is. So,
Right.
regardless of whatever happens with football and wherever team he would ever went to, from me hearing that he's just a, great person, just downright, everything else was just, icing on the cake,
Absolutely. He's already a fan favorite after an incredible year last year that really sort of came out of nowhere. Him being undrafted, it was sort of a surprise. But I want to go all the way back because I was reading an ESPN article, and it was talking about the moment that you first learned that your son was a baller. Can you tell me a little bit about how Jalen earned the nickname the ankle biter and how that came about?
I mean, gosh, it was back when he was that ankle biter, and a lot of times, people, I guess parents sometimes see something in their kid and think that they're going to be, a football player or a great baseball player, or they just see something in them. And I think a lot of people, including myself, saw that he was going to be something special. Ever since he was, there was a play back in, I think he was maybe 8 or 9, to where it was going to be a punt, and he broke through the middle, blocked the punt, scooped it up, and took it to the house. So, it's like you don't see stuff like that usually happen. And for it to be, your firstborn to do it, and just to watch the progression from being an ankle biter to going to travel leagues, to going to middle school, to high school, to college, and then now the NFL. It's an amazing journey. And, honestly, that was his plan, from when he was a little kid. He said he wanted to play football. He wanted to play in the NFL. And so we tried to just give him every opportunity to just prove what he can do on the football field. And pretty much it's just, it was him. Just all we really did was just kind of just steer him in the right direction. And he pretty much did the rest. And it's worked out pretty good so far. So we're knock on wood. And so it's been a great great first year. So, sophomore year here, he's feeling himself a little bit. He's getting into that body a little bit more. I think the wheels are starting to turn a little bit quicker too. He's got a little step on him. I think he's improved. That year too, I think, being around the guys, the veterans, and then some of them having the new guys come in too. He's hungry still, and that's always a great thing to have. You want to have that hunger, you want to have that passion, and I think he's got that even more, I think, than the first year. He's got it even more now in the second year.
Love it. He's already such a fan favorite. CK, why don't you jump in there, brother?
Yeah. So listen, as Panthers fans, as well as we do, we've had our ebbs and flows. It's been a roller coaster.
A little bit
since really 2017. And that I don't think is unique to fans. We look at Bryce Young, right? Last year, he started out with high hopes, gets cut, comes back, and he plays lights out, right? There's some things he improved on, all that stuff. Jalen kind of had his own up and down, right? He started out with probably one of the most anticipated undrafted free agents that were signed to the Panthers, and probably the most anticipated. Doesn't make the team initially, if I'm not mistaken. And then what is it, 3, 4, 5 weeks after Thielen goes down that we bring him back to the active roster, and the dude just shows out. So it's granted he didn't have the bad performance on the field, as though he had 0 drops all of last year, which was insane. But to have that emotional roller coaster, being the father of Jalen through that entire process, what are your emotions, and what are the things that he's got that dream within his grasp, and then it's kind of questioned and what's going to be the next steps? What's that process like for you and Jalen at that point?
No, definitely. And it's you said, ebbs and flows, just like the Panthers season, that whole process was that as well. And it was pretty much for me trying to step away from how I would feel in this situation and just understand how he's feeling in this situation and try to just listen to what he's saying. And what he was telling me, he was saying, hey, I just got to keep on working. And and I'm a little bit different than he is. I'm on the other side thinking like, well, you got him, do what, take him and do whatever you can do with him, whatever. But he, on his side, it was saying like, I have to just work and just be ready for whenever that time comes. And if it's not here, then it will be somewhere else. But I know that I'm going to be playing football. And I actually kind of had to take a step back and was like, you know what? You're absolutely correct. There's things you can control. There's things you can't control. Only thing you can really do is just go out there and showcase what you've been doing for, years now. Yeah. And if they like it, they like it. And then we'll just continue from there.
Football is like the ultimate life lesson. It can, it can absolutely pertain to every part of your life, professional, personal, all of that. So that's awesome. And then I guess another question, and I don't mean this all to be kind of around that, somewhat bittersweet aspect of it, but
understand it's a part of it. Yeah,
sure. The real introduction I think Panthers had, obviously there were some positives up to this point, but that real introduction we had to Jalen was that Dallas game, right? We saw that probably the longest play we've seen from a Panthers player since at least 10 years, if I had to guess. It probably was even longer. I think it might have even been a record as far as or tying a record for the longest touchdown play of the Panthers history. And that was the close out the half of a game that didn't end the way we wanted it to. But, how does Jalen handle that immediate, like, number one, he's now got eyes on him, like this dude is balling out.
Yeah,
but that game went
stardom almost.
Thrust into stardom at that point, but also having to deal with that on top of the fact that it was a horrendous game after that. Like it was a blowout by Dallas with a backup quarterback leading the way. What do you like at that point in time when your recollection with Jalen really kind of coming into his own in the NFL at that point? What's his mindset going through that, having to navigate that bittersweet moment?
He's been pretty even keeled. He's been pretty, of course, it's you think about it, but it's not one of those things that he's been dwelling on. He knew, he's like, I was like, yo, got the touchdown. He's like, yeah, but we lost, so he's you know what I'm saying? It's not even something that even I'm trying to like cheer him on the high things that he did, but he's still like, hey, but we lost, the team did this, I could have done this better too. So it's always him kind of just working and thinking to himself of what I could have done better. And he is, all about learning and just trying to do that and just be that best person that he can for the team. I mean, and you're going to have those games. You can have those games where you can score, have all these yards and all these touchdowns and still lose the game. So it doesn't really feel, as sweet as with a win. So, I mean, he was definitely understanding of how that is. He's like, well, I got the touchdown, but we still need to clean up this and clean up that. And
awesome.
On me as well. So, so we talk about the touchdown for a minute, and then it's on to more football about what it could have been changed and what could have been better. But he's pretty humble with when it comes to that. He takes it, for what it's worth. He understands what's going on and what's coming and how things are working. If what I'm saying. So he's, just taking it step by step and day by day, knowing that, all I have to do is just go out there and just compete. As long as I compete, I have a chance. Absolutely. As long as I go out there and work, I have a chance. So that's what he says he's going to continue to keep doing until, it's his time.
I mean, his attitude mixed with his work ethic has already made him such a fan favorite amongst Panther fans. And I mean, I literally remember, before you played the snap, so many fans were excited about Jalen Coker when they found out that we signed him. But Mr. Coker, I want to go back a little bit to his high school days, because one of the most interesting things that you learn about Jalen is that he is an absolute dog all the way around.
He's all over the field.
Then when you find out that on defense, my man had 169 tackles and 12 interceptions on defense. Can you talk a little bit about his high school experience playing for Potomac, and what ultimately settled him down on playing wide receiver over playing on defense, and what that process was like for y'all?
I mean, it was amazing. Well, because he played on defense, when I played high school, I was a wide receiver. So I was like, when he played on defense, I was like, okay, that's fine. But it's fine. He's a great defensive player. I mean, they had him all over the field. I mean, he's cornerback, defensive back, safety. He's played all over the field. He's played quarterback at some points of the game. But ultimately, him being a wide receiver, I don't know. I really don't know. I just think that he felt that that's where he was better at. I thought he was a great defensive player as well. We kind of looked at the numbers of how many defensive backs in versus wide receivers are, going in and getting, that type of thing. But other than that, he just was a great wide receiver. He had great hands, good speed, and he had a big body and a good target. And I think also what helped him on the offense and when he transitioned over to being a wide receiver mainly was his ability to track the ball. So on defense, I mean, with the interceptions and just tracking the ball in the air, that transitioned over to being a wide receiver. So now you just, you're finding the ball at any given point in the time, going up and getting it at its highest point. And, and I think that kind of just helped him become a pretty good wide receiver in his day. And I mean, there's records, I mean, he's a great wide receiver, a great player. He's, like you said, he's that dog. I mean, he was all over the field. And I mean, and it was a show every time on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed at 6'1", 215 pounds. He's really.
I think he might be a little bit taller.
Oh, okay. They sure changed him a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, I think.
Yeah, okay. We'll say 6'2", maybe 6'2" and a half. You know,
all right.
Yeah, we can give him that extra.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you what his recruitment process was like. And I mean, listen, he had one heck of a career at Holy Cross from 2000 to 2023, 163 receptions for 2,684 yards, and a school record 31 touchdowns. I kind of have a 2-in-1 question. What was his recruitment process like coming out of high school? And at what point in his college career did you say, wow, I really think my son has NFL potential? Like he can play with the very best of them.
That's a good question. So his recruitment process was, I mean, it was pretty much, we just wanted to just get out there. So we started just going to, we went to, where we went, drawing a blank, but Charlotte, went to Virginia Tech, we went to ODU. I know we started traveling, New Hampshire. Right. So we just started just going over to just visit places, seeing everything. And we ended up, with Holy Cross because, we got to tour the field, got to tour the facility, talk to the coaches and everything like that. And, it was just a feeling of family there. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of just felt right. And, and then when Chesney was there and whatnot, we got a chance to sit down and talk with him. And he was just like, hey, we saw the film. We like Jalen. We want him to come out here and play. And, and I honestly, I looked over the coach and I was like, he's going to be playing. And he's like, he's going to be playing. And I was like, well, let's go then. So it was pretty much that. And it was just pretty much, that was the start of something special. And as far as knowing, gosh.
Yeah, when did you know my son has the real potential to play with the big dogs in the NFL? Did you have like a moment when it became real for you and your family that this was in his cards?
It's never really been a moment, but there's always been that underlying feeling that you always kept in the back of your head because it's hard to get in the NFL. A lot of people don't make it. So we knew that there's a possibility that he could not, but that has been in the back of our head, but we always thought that was going to be it. We just always assumed that was going to be it. That's what we're working for. And, it was like NFL or bust type of thing. And, it was probably in his high school days. I don't even want to say, it might have even been further than that back, whenever like 13, playing for the War Eagles, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the plays that he's made, I just wish there was film on some of those things because, one-handed catches, catches between like in the Holy Cross between 4 or 5 defenders, probably 3 or 4, but still a lot of people, hands everywhere, come down with the ball, game over. He's done that several times. So like there's always been something that I've known that was special about him, and I thought that he just needed the opportunity to kind of just get his chance to just show what he could do. And I'm just, just so grateful that it's come to fruition, so it's just, but I've always thought that he's had something special, and I'm just so glad everybody else get a chance to see it as well.
Oh, he's definitely something special. Yeah. He's a fan favorite. Go ahead, CK.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a couple of, I don't know if I'd call them softball questions, but not anything over the top. So rookie season out of the in the books, what is the craziest story Jalen's told you about his first year in the NFL? If you can tell it. Let me rephrase. Within your ability to discuss it, what is the craziest story he's told you about his time in the NFL so far?
Nothing too crazy. I think a little bit. He's been telling me a little bit about how much spending's going on. Through the there's a lot of money money going around.
Yeah.
So
sure.
So that's one of the things that he's kind of just mentioned. And I'm like,
would you say that's his biggest surprise so far? Is like, you have an idea, but you really don't know those things. Is that the biggest surprise to him going into there of like what he thought NFL was going to be and what it ended up being?
No, I think more it was just, he was just like, yo, there's a bunch of guys here, just from
just
everywhere.
Humans,
yeah. So it's kind of just like that. So it's not like you you know how because you can be from a team and be that guy on the team, but when you go to a team, everybody is that guy. So it's like you gotta just you gotta pack a lunch every day.
So another thing, so my son's 9 years old. And one of the things is obviously I want him to have the best life possible, better than I could have given myself or given him. I want him to be able to, exceed my life goals and expectations. Right.
That's every dad.
Right. So you see that starting to kind of come to fruition. Now he is probably not thinking about this, but you may start to think about this as time goes on. And here's to hoping he has an incredibly long NFL career. But if dad had his say in Jalen Coker's life moving forward, what does life after football look for Jalen?
That's many, many years down the line. Let me see. Honestly, I think that he would be great doing any type of coaching. I feel like possibly going back to Holy Cross, working with, the student athletes there. He's got a great bedside manner. He's got a great, patience for people and, and an understanding for people. So I think that possibly he would be able to get through to some people maybe that other people wouldn't be able to get to. He's like really easy to talk to and open up to. So I feel like maybe something back with, the university or something like that would probably be his kind of thing. But it's all up in the air. I have no idea. I mean, kids nowadays, you never know. Even know sometimes.
Yeah. Well, here's the hoping generational wealth happens well before that takes place. And, he's able to set himself up for life and take care of those who helped him get to this point. But man, that's awesome. That's all my questions, Cody. If you had some more, I know it won't take up too much of his time.
Yeah. So is there a certain wide receiver that Jalen has sort of modeled his game after, or a certain guy that maybe he grew up watching and said, hey man, if I'm going to play, I want to be like that guy. I want to be able to do what that guy does. Was there ever any sort of wide receiver that either he took a liking to, or maybe a wide receiver that you were a fan of, that you showed him when he was young and said, hey son, if you really want to do this for real, this is a guy you want to look at to really sort of model your game after? Was there any player for you?
Of course. I was dusting off VHSs and I was showing him tapes of me back in high school. I was like, this is what I want you to be like. No, I'm just joking. No, I showed him a couple of little bit of footage of me back in the day. But no, his guy was Michael Thomas. I don't know why. Keep this between us, but he grew up as a New Orleans Saints fan. And every time the Saints and the Carolina Panthers played, we would don two different. He would have his Saints stuff on. I had my Carolina stuff on. We'd watch the game, and I'm telling you, it would be really close back and forth every single time. So I would either kick him out of the house or he'd try to kick me out of the house. And I mean, but every wide receiver that just this wide receiver is just growing up. I showed him Jerry Rice. I mean, Randy Moss. I mean, there's just so many wide receivers out there that are so good. Calvin Johnson. I mean, just back in the day, I'm probably dating myself there. I'm like, just even the receivers out there now. I mean, all the receivers are out there looking really, really good, fast, big, and strong. It's a different type of day now. The wide receivers are looking a little bit different. So. But no, he was like I said, he was a diehard Saints fan. Yeah. So he's jumped on that bandwagon for I don't know how long. But he was definitely a Thomas fan. But any wide receiver that could catch the ball, that's who he was kind of looking at and just looking to see how and what or the separation. Look at that step, the little fast forward or rewind from in mid game just to point out a little something. But yeah, I mean it's been crazy. It's been crazy. No, but I'm hoping that people, whenever he becomes that person, the wide receivers that are coming up and be like, you'll have them on the podcast and they'll be like, I wanted to be like Jalen Coker. And that happens. that's just going to be an amazing thing for me to
Oh,
hear.
that's destined to happen. And
Yeah.
listen, I can't say too much. I grew up in Georgia. There's
Okay.
definitely pictures of me as a kid in a Falcons jersey.
Of course.
I've shown
Yeah.
it before. But also on top of that, most of my family is from New Orleans. So most of my family are Saints fans. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, listen, you can't help how you grow up. As long as he's a Carolina Panther now, that's all that matters. And I would
That's
love it
exactly
if he
right.
can continue to bring some of that same energy to the Carolina Panthers. But I wanted to talk to you about a little bit of his preparation going into this year. You know, CK already mentioned how important this year is for him after such a breakout rookie season. What's some of the preparation that Jalen has made going into the season? And is there anything that he has changed in his preparation to sort of do differently or maybe sort of do better in preparation for this really important sophomore NFL season?
No, definitely. Like he is, definitely trying to, it's funny because my metabolism is really high, and so I can just eat whatever I want. Unfortunately, that doesn't go for him.
Okay.
So he has to, monitor and be very conscious of what he's putting into his body, during the season, off season, just to make sure that his body is good and ready to go. And then, just speaking on his body, he just wants to, try to make sure, he's loose, everything's nice and limber, nice and, free, nothing, tight or anything like that.
Yeah.
And, just to try to, prevent anything from happening, trying to just be mindful if you do feel something to kind of like, just check it out, just to, keep the body in tune.
Sure.
And then other than that, just, working on the hands, getting some work in with Bryce and, just working on one-on-one with himself. And whenever he came back home, I think he was working with a couple of quarterbacks in the area, throwing some routes and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think the preparation is still the same. Probably a little bit more fine-tuned, a little bit more focused now, year two. Year one, you're probably all over the place, just trying to, figure out, left and right shoe, just, make sure you make it on time.
Sure.
So I think now he's got that year under his belt. So he's kind of fine-tuning everything, just making sure that he can be, 100% for as long as he can. It's a long season. So he just, and, for a wide receiver too, it only takes, one cut, one bump or something like that to kind of, slow you down. And he wants to try to be 100% for as long as he can, because he knows the longer he's 100%, the longer he'll be out on the football field and be able to be used. So, but no, the preparation is the same, just staying focused and just trying to just make sure that he keeps his mind, body ready to go.
Absolutely. And listen, the story of Bryce Young has been very well documented. So I'm glad that you brought him up, because after Bryce came back from his benching last year, such an important piece of his resurgence, I believe, was your son, was Jalen Coker. And I mean, I don't think it's too crazy to say that at times last year, Jalen was Bryce's number one wide receiver. I mean, they had built up such a great connection, and it seemed like Bryce really did trust Jalen to be open and to be able to catch the ball in some really tight window scenarios. Could you talk a little bit about Jalen and Bryce's relationship and how you think that formed over such a short period of time last year?
No, yeah, I mean, being, their lockers are right next to each other, so they get a chance to kind of just powwow and talk. I think having that relationship between your quarterback and wide receiver, having that trust, I mean, it really goes a long way for both guys, so you can put trust in him knowing that he's going to be where he's going to be at, putting in trust in him knowing he's going to put the ball where he's going to be at, and then just working on that. And I think that has turned out to be a great thing, and to help your quarterback out in any way you can. I mean, because Bryce is he's a great quarterback, you just had some bumps in the roads, and it's going to happen, and it's not just football, just like, CK was saying about, the analogy of just football, just equating it into your everyday life. Like, it is a real thing. Like it goes, with with just about everything. So I think that friendship, I think that they've gotten together now, I think that's going to help them out in the long run. And, knowing that you got someone to kind of trust that's going to be back there to kind of get you the ball or catch the ball for you, I think hopefully that will start to turn to something special and it just be a all-time thing. And I think also it's going to trickle over into of course, the rest of the other wide receivers as well. And once the wide receivers and Bryce get on that page to where they can start trusting each other like that, it's gonna be something special, I tell you.
Dude, if our offense is at all a problem this year, I'd be shocked. This offense, I think, is poised for a breakout season, and we'll go over the depth chart here in a bit. And Jamal, you feel free if you want to stick around to have that conversation about where Jalen is at on that depth chart. You're more than welcome to. But I think we have just a couple more questions. My question, as we're getting to that point where we told you we're only taking 30 minutes of your time and we're
Go ahead.
40. So my question is, somebody in the chat put this in here. I think it's a really good question, right? Dave Canales comes from being a wide receivers coach, and year 2 in the NFL as a head coach, some consistency with this offense. What's your opinion about Dave Canales so far with what you've heard, not only from your son, but what you've seen on the field in his interviews, things along those lines?
Honestly, he seems like a great guy. He seems like he's a coach trying to put his players in positions to win football games. And nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said that we're supposed to be going to the Super Bowl the first year that he's here. I think it's a process. Jalen says nothing but good things about Coach. So, I mean, how can you go against when, if your son says that he's a good guy, then and I believe him, and there's nothing that I've seen from him that would make me think otherwise. So, yeah. I mean, right now, I think it's just one of those things that we just got to, unfortunately, to be cliche about, trusting the process. But, I mean, it's just one of those things that we just got to trust the process and just see, how things, connect. And I think this year will be a good idea of kind of where we're at. And, I mean, and I still don't think necessarily it's a bust year or something like that if we don't do something that is expected from us.
Sure.
Because, we're still, we're young. We're a young team. So, we're going to have those ups and downs, those ebbs and flows. So I still think that we need a little bit of time, but I still think there's going to be something happening this year to where they're going to be like, okay, we just got to maybe put this here and this there and maybe kind of shuffle this around. And I think we might have something. So I think it's just going to be a process. And from what I've seen from Coach, he's got my 100% confidence in doing what he can do to win football games and, and just put people in positions to succeed.
And, that's why it's such a great thing that Dave Canales is a former wide receivers coach, because now, and us Panther fans have talked about this for a while, now we have such a deep wide receiver room. The past 2 years in a row, they spent first-round picks on wide receivers, and, Xavier Legette the year before, and then this past draft, Teteroa McMillan. And that's why it seems like such an advantage for Jalen that he does already have that built-in relationship with Bryce, that they've already built that connection, that Bryce does trust him in a lot of different scenarios. You've been so gracious with your time tonight. This will be my final question for you.
No problem.
Are you and Jalen at all goal-oriented? So, for example, do you ever set out, we want to have maybe this many receptions or this many yards, or we want to work on yards after catch? Do you tick off things like maybe like a checklist on things that you want to see him do and grow and get better at year to year? And if so, what are some of those things that you think Jalen is striving to accomplish this year on the 2025 Carolina Panthers?
That's a good question to end it with. Honestly, there's never really been. Our relationship is more kind of like when we see each other after the game, we will talk about it more as not as an X's and O's type of thing, but just more of just what we could have done type of thing. He's always working on something. You know, if it's not his hands, it's his feet, is, you know, keeping the hips loose, keeping everything, you know, moving, you know, that take off the line, you know, his vertical, like all that stuff. So it's you know, it's always it's just a process with him, and he's always trying to get better, because he knows that the defense backs are out there getting better and the other wide receivers are getting better. So, you know, and considering that we have all these wide receivers now, I'm hoping that he still makes sure that, you know, he gets the touches. And I think that's going to be probably the biggest thing that I was thinking about the whole draft class. Because, I mean, we do have a lot of wide receivers. But the thing, too, is with all these wide receivers we got some good running backs as well. So that's going to be interesting to see because once we get the passing game and we got the running game as well, I mean, I feel like, I mean, dare I say it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels so good. Like it's a little bit electric. You kind of feel a little bit now. I mean, the wide receivers, I mean, just seeing them, you know, on Instagram and everything like that, just the catches that they're making, you know, even the defense too is, you know, making plays. I mean, JC, I mean, so, I mean, everybody's flying over the field. I mean, the big boys up in the line, you know what I'm saying, looking real beefy, you know what I'm saying, looking like they're ready to go. So, I mean, you know, I think it's going to be a good year, and I just hope that Jalen gets those catches and gets that yak and get those yards, and with him, when he gets the ball, I think that he can show something very special. So it's just the matter of him getting the ball. So but once they lock in and they get zoned in and locked in, I think it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait. Just hearing you say that,
it's gonna be electric. I know it is.
It gave me goosebumps just hearing you say that. I told a little fib because I have one more question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say this year Jalen has a huge game. The Panthers come away with a big time W. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's even against a division rival like the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
There you go, bro. On the same wavelength. Where is the Coker family going to dinner? And what is that celebration meal? What is that for you? And what is that for Jalen?
You know, gosh, well,
the toughest question yet.
That is a very good question, because it's got to be steak somewhere.
Yes, sir.
We've gone to a couple of places in the Charlotte area. And shout out Charlotte, because, I mean, goodness gracious, that place is really nice. I mean, I'm being from South Carolina. I can definitely, you know, see North Carolina being my second home. It's a really nice spot. But definitely steak. Definitely a steak would have to be on the table. You know, maybe pre-game before we go out, especially if it's a big win. You said it's a big win against a division rival too. So I mean, maybe shots might be getting tossed around.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. It's the weekend, you know. So hopefully we can maybe, you know, incorporate that too. But definitely some type of T-bone or tomahawk or something will be on the menu, I believe.
Oh man, that's awesome. CK, do you have any final questions before we get out of here? You're good to roll, man.
Man, I'm good to roll on. And you know, I appreciate your time, Mr. Coker. It's been awesome. More than a pleasure having you discuss this with us. You're always welcome on the podcast.
Thank you.
You know, we always do a post-game show after each game, and so if you're ever sitting at home after he has a big game and you just want to put your 2 cents on what you just saw on the field, you're more than welcome to join us. But it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely. Jamal, you have been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for giving your time to the C3 Panthers podcast. Is there anything you want to say before we get you out of here? And again, thank you so much for your time.
No, man. Hey, thank you guys for having me. Hey, keep pounding.
Keep
pounding. Ladies and gentlemen, son or father of superstar Jalen Coker. He is the man, Jamal Coker. We thank you so much for your time. Keep pounding, brother. We look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Keep pounding. Oh, CK, what an awesome interview, huh? He has a great energy, and you can tell, you know, with Jalen and how great of a young man he is. It's not hard to see where he gets it from. That guy is awesome. He's a great interview and a lot of great insight there too.
Yeah. And I think it's only appropriate we take this moment to shout out our boy who got this interview secured.
Oh, shout out G Baby.
You know, G Baby may rub everybody the wrong way. And now when I say everybody, he's my best friend one week and my worst enemy the next week. And everybody in the chat probably feels that way when it comes to G Baby. But he got us Mr. Coker with this interview. He got us in touch with him. So shout out to G Baby in getting us in contact with Jamal.
G Baby, you know we love you, brother. Thank you so much. He literally made that happen. He literally messaged me on Twitter and was like, "Yo, I think I can get Jalen Coker or Jamal Coker for you." I'm like, "What, dude?" I gave him my number, and he messaged me today. I literally didn't know until the middle of the afternoon today that this would be happening. So shout out to G Baby. You are the man, brother. You know we love you, man. We appreciate you. CK, what do you say we jump into the show and talk about some of the stuff that we have on the docket for these Panther fans? And as always, remember, we're taking your cat calls tonight at 252-228-5098. Have your voice heard on the longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. CK, ain't nothing to it. See, I always mess this up when Tony's not here. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's roll. CK, this Friday on the free-for-all, we will be having a live reaction to the first preseason game for the Carolina Panthers. And you know what, CK? We might have as much eyes on the Carolina Panthers in this first preseason game than we do all season, as it has been announced that Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Cleveland Browns. There's been so much conversation around him. Who is going to be the starter? Why is Dylan Gabriel getting more snaps up there for them? But this is going to be a great test for the Carolina Panthers. And there's going to be a lot of eyeballs going into this game. What do you think about this matchup? And what are some of the things that you're looking for going into this matchup with the Cleveland Browns? We're going to go through it step by step a little bit later, but just some of your initial impressions of what you're looking to see in the first preseason game for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, first, it's going to be how our defense stands up against that offense, which right now I think you couldn't really put a lot of expectations on what the Browns offense is going to be. So if this defense with its starters are able to hold that offense back, that's a start. Doesn't answer the questions we wanted to have answered, but it at least gives us some confidence going into the season that we're not completely, without movement in the right direction. But, beyond that, I think it's going to be both of the lines, right? One of the things that we saw during FanFest was the protection was an issue when it came to, Bryce Young having time to get the ball out. There were plenty of times where there was a good play that Bryce Young made, but in real-time situations, that would have been a sack. So we run into a situation where, we're starting to have questions about what that offensive line is going to do this year. Additionally, defensive line, we have still, we're going to go over the depth chart here in a bit, but we have some question marks around that defensive line and whether they're going to be able to hold up. And, if they're able to actually establish some pressure, contain the run, all of those things we need them to do this year, allow this secondary to be able to, hold these receivers intact. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to most as both of the lines play this Friday.
Yeah, and listen, shout out to everybody who was at FanFest and who came to meet us. Shout out to Jake, Pickle, Deez, Cole. Dude, it was incredible seeing all the boys at FanFest. And, a lot of the things that we did see are kind of what I'm continuing to want to see, this Friday. And I felt like our first team offense, for as much as we want to be a run-first football team, a lot of these big hog mollies on the defense, they really showed out and really prevented a lot of the runs that the first team offense was trying to accomplish. These big guys in the middle are finally starting to show out, and we were so bad stopping the run last year. Yeah. It was literally our Achilles heel. I mean, literally our Achilles heel. And the fact that now we have the guys that are able to sort of stop that run. To me, that's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Can the Carolina Panthers continue to get pressure and be able to stop the run against the Browns? And, we're going to have joint practices with them. I believe it starts tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think
it
we have 2 days of joint practices. So the news is going to start to roll in tomorrow. Y'all
Actually,
make
is
sure
it
y'all
the 7th?
follow.
It might be the day before the game, the 7th.
Maybe either tomorrow or the next day. But y'all make sure you follow Diesel Skills and Panther Pickle and Cole on Twitter. They'll be running those C3 spaces and, continuing to further this discussion. But CK, for me, I really want to see the Carolina Panthers continue to stuff the run. And I think that the Browns are a really good team to test that against.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, while you wouldn't say they have necessarily a powerhouse at the run position, they have an offensive line that has still kind of remained somewhat intact and considered, a top, above average offensive line, historically speaking. Now, whether that's going to be the case this year, it's hard to say. But this is going to be a good test, while at the same time allowing for our starters to just kind of build chemistry with one another. That's something I kind of alluded to at the very beginning of the show. And I think that, to me, having the starters play the first 2 games of preseason and then letting them sit on the third game is a genius play. It is something certainly that you don't agree with, but I think is incredibly valuable.
I would never play him. Maybe now that Tony's here, I'm going to have to be the old curmudgeon tonight. But I would just use this time to battle out the depth. But listen, I think Canales, after last year, especially after the slow start that we had, has really made it a point that they are going to let the starters, get a good bit of reps, probably 1 or 2 series against the Browns and against the Texans. So, and I do think that has marked a change from Dave Canales from last year to this year because, be it because of injuries or whatever reason it was, last year he was hesitant to play some of those starters in some big time roles in the preseason. So I think he's changing up how he's deciding to go about things this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, let's before we go any further, what do you say we jump into this depth chart a little bit? And this literally came out right before the pod. So this is something that is, kind of
hot
new
off the presses.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of new to everyone. But let's just jump into this. We'll go to the offense first and then the defense. And by the way, shout out to Anime Roundtable with the $9.99 C3 bomb. Says you guys really need more recognition. Stay blessed and keep pounding. Thank you so much, brother.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
And to that note, before we start this most important conversation, something we haven't done in a while, I think we need to start getting back to it, is maybe something to, deal with some of the freaks that we have in chat.
Oh, yeah. You mean some of those people that they've got a shame fetish, don't they?
Mm.
Yeah. Why don't you talk to them, bro?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, you've tuned in to C3 as we've interviewed not only legends of Carolina Panthers, not only beat reporters of the Carolina Panthers, rivalry podcasts, all of those that you can imagine. We have found a way to try to get at least 1 or 2 of those people on. We have added parents and relatives of players that are active on the roster. And you've tuned into C3 to learn more about Jalen Coker, to learn more about the Carolina Panthers, the anticipation for the coming season. But you haven't hit that like button yet. Well, I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks. Subscriber shame.
Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. We're having a great time talking Panther football, and we hope y'all are too. CK, let's jump into this depth chart a little bit. there's really not a lot of surprises here based on first glance. You know, we see Tedero McMillan and Adam Thielen as wide receiver 1 and 2. And then you see Xavier Legette at wide receiver 3 with Jalen Coker right behind him. You know, Mitchell Evans is listed at tight end number 2. And to me, a lot of that has to do with Tommy Tremble probably still rehabbing some of that injury that he had. But there's really a whole lot of surprises here. However, one of the battles that we've been looking at for a long time has been the center position. And as of right now, Austin Corbett is listed as the starting center for the Carolina Panthers. CK, what's your first initial reaction to the first team offense?
I don't really think there's a tremendous amount of surprise here. Again, the Tommy Tremble, conversation is one that I don't even know if he's healthy, that he's number 1 over top of JT. You would expect him to be based on the contract he got this offseason, but for the most part, I think all of this we probably would have had lined up identical to what we're seeing here. The only one that I think is noticeably absent from the 1 and 2 is going to be Jimmy Horn Jr. Now, he is third team, and I do believe they have him written into the punt return, kick return as well. So if I'm not mistaken, and if he is, then, he is the starting, or he's, this is third string for the wide receiver. I don't know if we have the kick returner on these slides or not, but
we do. It's in the slide after this. We'll get to it.
But beyond that, I think that's probably the biggest surprise is him being third team. But beyond that, man, there's no surprises from what I'm seeing on this.
Yeah. Shout out to our boy White Chocolate Espresso, who says Brady Christensen might take that left tackle spot from what I'm hearing from Icky. And listen, it hasn't been great for Icky if you've been listening. Princely, your man Mielin. Apparently, I've been saying his name wrong. I've been saying Human Mielin, but apparently it's Human Mielin. I take pride in getting their names right, don't you know? But apparently, Princely has been giving Icky fits. Now you have Myles Garrett coming into town. CK, this is a huge year for Kevin Quanah at left tackle. I know Bryce Young kind of takes most of the oxygen out of the room with him being a third-year starter at quarterback. But Kevin Quanah is coming up on that contract where we're going to have to decide what we're doing with him. That's a great point, man. This left tackle position is going to be something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think that the interesting part is, so we did pick up his 5th-year option this offseason. So we know we have 2 years of Ike Ekwonu on this team, and he's not going anywhere. So we're going to see in real game time. I think that's part of what I'm referring to about what I think is most important that we see Friday is how Ike stands up to that pass rush. And if he's able to hold his own, this is an interesting. What's unique about this is I think this is one of the most important years of Ike's career. Additionally, this is very reminiscent of Ike's first ever NFL game when we went against none other than the Browns, and he had to face Myles Garrett in week 1 of his rookie season, and he was taken to church, right?
Yes, he was.
And so this would be an opportunity for him to be able to redeem himself, show his growth, see where he's at as a player in the NFL. 4 years or 3 years under his belt, going into his 4th year. Huge deal for Ike. If he can maintain that first team, that would be an interesting thing to have happen. But again, nothing about what we're seeing on this is shocking to anybody that I've seen, at least on the offense.
Yeah, nothing at all. And look, I've had my fair share of criticisms of Kevin Quanah. I'm pulling for him. Like, I really am. And, CK, I don't mean to put the cart before the horse here, and you know this. You've been on here doing this with me for as many years. I felt that it was a very wrong decision by then head coach Matt Rule to not give Brady Christensen the opportunity to play left tackle when we drafted him in 2020. Dude, if Akim Ekwonu continues to disappoint, and he does, for whatever reason, end up losing his job to Christensen, knowing that we could have potentially had all those extra years with Brady in that position, dude, that's going to be a real tough pill to swallow for all of us, considering been such a revolving door for the Carolina Panthers for so many years now. It's a huge year for Icky, and like I said, I am pulling for him, but I do find it interesting that Brady Christensen is left tackle number 2, even though at FanFest he primarily played right tackle on the field.
Yeah, it's again, I'm not sure what to read into the second team and the depth that they have. I think the problem with the Brady Christensen experience is he is the Swiss Army knife of the entire offensive line. Like, he can fill in my mind, he's filling in at any position on that offensive line, and he's going to do a pretty good job, above average in my mind, at any one of those positions. I think the question becomes, if Josh Neiman is your number 2 right tackle, is that really the only position he's able to play is right tackle? And maybe that's why he's kind of penciled in there. I don't know, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to read into Brady Christensen being in the left tackle position. But it is an interesting conversation when you realize that Icky has had his struggles this preseason so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And then and a couple of these super chats here, I wanted to make sure that we read. White Chocolate Espresso, who's been a member for 29 months. Shout out my brother Kev, says, go get Gilmore to play safety, man, because who? And look, we're going to get into this later, but we're going to talk about Leighton Ransom here in a minute, who has been incredibly impressive through the past few days of training camp. And CK, you were there. Dude, he was electric at FanFest, laying the boom, and also had a pick that was essentially almost brought back for a pick 6. We might have us one in Leighton Ransom. So shout out to Lathan. And then our boy John B. Jenkins, go fish. Member for 35 months, says Rule was jealous because Brady Christensen's arms were longer than his. I think you might be on to something there, brother. But CK, we've talked about this offense. We've talked about the center position, which, by the way, I'm still not so sure that this is going to be how it ends up. I think it's still very much a battle between Austin Corbett and Cade Mays. There's a lot of fans behind Cade Mays as well. He was a former 5-star recruit before he committed to Georgia. I don't know, man. I think that we're in a good position with our centers. I trust in both of them, but it depends on who can stay the most healthy. But CK, let's go to this defensive lineup for the Carolina Panthers. So not a ton of surprises, but there are some weird ones, though. You still have Ashawn Robinson listed above Tershawn Wharton, even though they specifically brought Wharton in this year in free agency. Patrick Jones the second above a Princely Uman-Mielen. And you have DJ Wanham ahead of Nick Scorton. Now, those guys are rooks. However, I think that you're hoping that by the end of the year, maybe some of those spots are going to start to flip in terms of who's first team and who's second team.
I think the thing about the defensive line here with the outside linebackers, the defensive ends, and the tackles, right? I think when you look at these, I think it has more to do with the fact that this defense is going to be kind of predicated around your depth and the rotational pieces, because I think it's really intended to be a revolving door in the game at any given moment. You're going to want to have your guys that are considered first team to be able to stay in there for long series, because you're going to be playing the no huddle in those instances, and you're not going to be able to necessarily substitute anybody out in those moments. But I think that this tells me that, to my mind, I think DJ Wanham is I don't think there's any reason he shouldn't be first team or first. You know what I'm saying? First string. Yeah. And then Patrick Jones, and I really don't think there's any reason to look at this and feel like there's a problem. The biggest question is the Ashawn Robinson and the Tershawn Wharton. And I think that's a 1A, 1B situation. And if I had to guess, I think it's just a matter of Robinson's been here and Wharton just got here. And so I think it's almost a matter of like, you've got to show me that you're way better than Robinson to be able to justify putting him second team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Bobby Brown already listed as a starter over Shy Tuttle. Thank God. But, Bobby Brown being only 24 years old on the Panthers blueprint, they made the point that he was basically like a draft pick himself. The guy's so young and so strong and so versatile that they really have a lot of plans for him this year. And that isn't too surprising. And, one of the things that I wanted to say real quick, CK, is that, right now they have Nick Scott listed as starting safety. And listen, Nick Scott and Damani Richardson have been really impressive through training camp through the past few days and at FanFest. But man, oh man, I really do think that Leighton Ransom has the potential to basically earn that starting job before the start of the season. He's had a pick. He's had a pick six. He's had passes deflected. The dude is just all over the field. So far, he has been literally everything that the Panthers drafted him to be. I know that he's a fourth-round pick, but man, he is already making so many waves at training camp. I really do feel like Leighton Ransom will probably be the starter at the start of the season. And I think this game with the Cleveland Browns could go a long way in helping him do that.
Yeah. I think that all of our rookies, surprisingly enough, for the most part, have been pretty stand up. Like they've been stand out, if you will. They've been surprising. There's not a single person on this team that I feel like they've been speaking in past tense in regard to like they're already cut or anything along those lines. But, especially these guys that we drafted on defense, all of them seem to be contributors early on from what we can see. The fact that everyone, we have Princely, we have Nick, we have Lathan. Who else do we have that we just drafted?
On defense?
Yeah, I think those are the only three that are showing up on the second team, right?
Yeah.
So, the fact that we have a group like that is pretty impressive, especially given that a lot of them were late round draft picks.
Oh, well, we also have Cam Jackson, who's right now listed as fourth string defensive tackle behind Sam Roberts. We have Jaden Cromuddy, who was drafted last year, who a lot of fans had a lot of hope for, who really hasn't done a lot yet. And a lot of people have been wondering what his place on the team is. But, he's listed basically as at third string behind Shy Tuttle. This is interesting, man. And the defense, to me, like the offense sort of seems settled, doesn't it? Yeah. Whereas the defense, it feels like a lot of guys could really sort of change their fortunes here
in preseason.
In the preseason against the Browns and against the Texans. I feel like some of these positions are really still up for grab. Even like some of the guys in the third and fourth string. I know Corey Thornton has been a guy that's been making a lot of plays, who I think the Panthers really, really like a lot. When I did my interview with Alex Zilo, he was ranting and raving about Shamar Bartholomew and how good he has been and how he has a great nose for the ball, good hands, can high point the ball in space. I really feel like a lot of these defensive positions, they're not quite settled yet, that there could be some real movement here in the next few weeks for the Panthers.
I want Boogie Basham to do incredibly well.
Oh, tell me why.
He's from where I'm at.
All right.
He actually went to school. He went to school about 10 miles from where I'm at right now. And so, he's a hometown kid.
Shout out Boogie Basham. He went to UVA.
And he was drafted by the Bills. And then he's back here.
Okay. So on special teams, and CK, brother, we have to get to this kicker position here in a little bit because all the other positions have been so exciting and there's so much going on. Bro, this kicker position is not looking good, brother. Ryan Fitzgerald went 1 for 5 today, I believe. It was on the Skinner goalpost. But yeah, we could have a real issue here. But at kick return and punt return, they have Raheem Blackshear listed as kick returner and punt returner, followed by Rico Dowdle and Hunter Renfrow. And it is a bit surprising that they don't have Jimmy Horn Jr. on here, considering how it was pretty much a given, at least according to fans, that he had such an opportunity to be a returner. Not seeing him on this list is sort of weird to me. Also, Trevor Etienne at running back, who we drafted in the 3rd round, I do believe, has a lot of return special abilities. Also, not seeing him on the list at first or second team at kick returner or punt returner is a bit of a surprise, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, the fact that I thought that we were going to see Jimmy Horn on this list as well, because him being 3rd string is interesting. It kind of is going to go to a conversation I think we'll probably have about, again, how many wide receivers we're going to hold on to. The kicker situation, listen, it's such a weird thing, because now all of a sudden, like, the not saying that we do this, but the Eddie Pinheiro doesn't look so bad anymore, right? Just based on what we've seen in the preseason from these kickers. White Chocolate does have a point. Justin Tucker is out there and available. Even though he's had a pretty, I wouldn't say a steep decline in his performance.
I don't think we have good enough massage parlors here in Charlotte.
Dude, Cody, we were fighting to get Deshaun Watson. I don't think that Tepper cares. I don't think that Tepper cares, to be quite honest with you. And so it's an interesting situation to be in, where Eddie Pinheiro is still out there as a free agent. And I'm not advocating that we go get old boy, but I think that right now, with as much of a concern as this kicker situation is, I don't think you can take any cards off the table with not really having a guy that seems to be winning that starting position right now.
I'm pissed, man. Harrison Mevis should still be a Panther. He was awesome for the Birmingham Stallions, and now the New York Jets have picked him up. And what you want to bet, he will be their starting kicker this year, and will probably go on to have a great career, man. I hate it that we're in this position that, you know, we've had a fairly consistent special team the past few years with the guys that we've had. And now that the defense and the offense are finally starting to step up, dude, this special teams isn't looking the hottest. Let's just say that, right?
Yeah, it's right now. The fact that Raheem Blackshear is probably the most exciting member of this kick return squad or the special team squad is a worry, because, you know, let's be real, that isn't going to be the position that wins you the most games. If we're being honest, it's that kicker position, and in many cases that punter position, if they can flip the field every single time we get an opportunity to do so. Again, I do think concern. I don't know that I'm panic button situation yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's conversations taking place about bringing in any of those guys that we just talked about. And from what it sounds like, the thicker kicker is still out there as an option to be able to pick up. Additionally, we do have a former Carolina Panther kicker that could also be picked up out there on the wire as well, in Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah. Kev sent me a list of kickers. When we get to that in the show notes a little bit later on, we will pull that up and look at all the options that we have available to us. But just want to remind everyone to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. CK, let's jump a little bit more into the show. So listen, I've talked about it a little bit before, but it bears repeating. You know, safety has been such a big question mark. And, you know, we were all hopeful before the start of the season, right after the draft, that young Leighton Ransom could continue to impress enough that he could win a starting job at safety for the Carolina Panthers. And CK, I really feel like it just might. This is from Darren Gant on Panthers.com. Says play of the day, Leighton Ransom is all over the place again. Rookie safety Leighton Ransom is on a hot streak and is bringing his friends with him. The fourth rounder followed up Saturday's 80-yard reception on a fake punt with a handful of plays Tuesday, including a dramatic interception. Ransom cut in front of veteran wideout Adam Thielen to snag the ball, and once he broke free, he started looking for reinforcements. He didn't have to look far. Nick Scott and cornerback Chau Smith-Wade were trailing closely behind as they waited for them to join them. Once they got to the end zone, they broke out in a dance, complete with choreographed handshakes as he flung the ball away. The kind of energy is a plus, but Canales said what he likes about Ransom so far is his ability to be in the right place at the right time. CK, he demonstrates every ability that you want from a strong safety. Good eyes, good hands, and he is strong as hell. He's not afraid to go out there and lay the boom. CK, I really do feel like he will be the starter for the Carolina Panthers at strong safety when we play Jacksonville.
That would be, again, right now, I am incredibly hopeful that we have just done in this draft what the Saints did back in the, what is it, 2014 maybe? 2017, yeah. When they got Kamara, they got Lattimore, they got Bell. Was it Von Bell that they had gotten
Von
that
Bell.
same? They
also, what's the dude for the Cincinnati Bengals that's trying to get paid right now? Who was originally the Saint?
The Gardner Johnson, CJ Gardner Johnson.
No. The defensive end for the Bengals that's trying to get paid.
Is he a Saint initially?
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
Trey Hendrickson was originally a Saint.
Oh,
wow. They
I
let
think I
go
knew
of
that.
him.
Sort of him.
Yeah, they let go of him in free agency. He was also a part of that draft. That was a legendary draft for New Orleans. But I do hear you. I'm hoping that this could be something similar for the Panthers.
That's the hope, man. I think that when you see the potential of Nick Scorton, Princely, you have Lathan, whatever it is.
Leighton Ransom.
Leighton Ransom. I can't get it right. You have and him out here making the plays that he is. Man, I mean, and then you add in the potential that Jimmy Horn and Teteroa McMillan have. I think that's this draft class of rookies could be historical in the eyes of Panthers. From a Panthers perspective, we'll see if it actually comes to fruition. I know it's a lot of preseason talk about the hype around these guys, and we've all been there and done that multiple times. But this is a group that feels a little different this year.
Yeah, let's listen to Dave Canales talk about Leighton Ransom, and then we will actually hear from Lathan himself. One moment.
He's a leader on a national championship team, so there was just a lot we learned about him as a man, and just trying to bring those people with talent, but also character, and he fit the mold of what we're looking for. And then, just when you bring a rookie in, it's just a matter of how quickly can they learn your schemes, how quickly can you depend on them to do right, to be where they're supposed to be.
And I know it's a lot of coach speak, CK.
Sure.
But at least there is an element of coach speak to it. But when you learn about what Canales wants on this team and the types of players that he's looking for, Leighton Ransom fits that bill to a T. He's versatile, strong, good hands, and like you mentioned in the article, he has a knack for being in the right place at the right time, where over the past few years, our defenders have notably not been in a good place at all at the right time. So he seems to be on the right track in that front.
I love hearing glowing conversations about a guy in the safety room because it's been a while, to be quite honest with you. I think we've had an average safety play for quite a while, or below average in many seasons. But if this can be the move that puts our safeties into that next echelon of like, the conversation of being some of the best in the NFL, I think none of us are going to be complaining about having that shored up, especially being a weakness for probably the last 10 years, if not longer.
Yeah, for sure. This is Leighton Ransom talking about being a sponge all offseason, and he's excited about hitting another team who is not the Carolina Panthers.
90 yards so far, and I just came off the defensive drive, but Jimmy made a good tackle, but I was definitely tired.
Mike Jack was talking about how smart you are and how you really take the feedback well from the veterans. Can you talk about what you've gotten from them and how their input has helped your growth during this training camp process?
Yeah, between Mike, Trey, JC, Nick, all older guys, especially Damani too. I'm just trying to be a sponge. I mean, they've guys that have played, have reps, guys I can just learn from. So I'm doing everything I can to learn from them. Pick their brain, ask as many questions as I can, because when I go out there and with them, they depend on me. So it don't matter if you're a rookie, if it's your first year or whatever. Like, you're expected held to the standard that they're held to. So when I go out there, I just ask many questions. So when I'm out there, I'm not a weakling. I'm out there making the checks just as confident as the other guys.
Lathan, you're known as hard hitting safety. Are you excited to hit another team tomorrow and then this weekend?
Yeah, I think anytime you get on the field, you get your pads on, and you get an opportunity to go out there and hit, show your physicality. So yeah, I'm excited to go out there and play against another team, and I'm excited to see what our team looks like, and have great energy tomorrow, and for the rest of this week.
Kind of on that note, Canales said Saturday he told you the difference between getting mail from the league and not getting mail from the league.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like?
Just understanding, just how to play the right way. Obviously, when we go out there, I'm a physical player, and coach, he wants there to be physicality, but just at the end of the day, keep our teammates safe, keep myself safe. So, he's just going out there for the betterment of me and the team.
So if you didn't catch that last question, she asked how to not get mail from the league. Basically, what's just saying how to not get fined, how to tackle the right way and to not go out there headhunting, which I do like that it's even in the conversation with him, just because that's the type of tackler that he is.
Cody, do you know why that?
Boom on you.
Do you know why that's a conversation? Do you remember?
Tell me.
At FanFest, he straight up rocked. I can't remember who it was, but it was a helmet to helmet, and it would have absolutely drawn a flag and a fine. And so that's coming from a conversation about that hit. And so that's what that whole Dave Canales talked about it after FanFest, and I believe maybe the day after as well. But yeah, that's where that's stemming from. That's because he did a helmet to helmet hit on another player. That was a pretty hard hit in a team friendly environment. So,
hey, you will hold your ass up for ransom, bro. He's out there doing this thing. Listen, I'm really excited about him. I think when you pair him with Trevon Moore, that could actually be a really surprising safety combo that we haven't seen since maybe Trey Boston and Kurt Coleman. Like, again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it's trending in the right direction of who the Panthers are trying to be, the type of players that we have brought onto this team. CK, I'm loving what I'm seeing, man.
Yeah, I think it's all positive. And I don't even think the depth chart having Nick Scott ahead of him is necessarily reflective of what they actually think. I think that's just a matter of paying respect to veterans to a degree, but also making it so these rookies aren't getting complacent, right? You've already got a starting position. Sure. No need to continue to compete. No need to do any of that. I think that has more to do with it than anything else. But I know a lot of people are excited to have this conversation about what you got next on the screen.
Oh, yeah, dude. So listen, shout out to Mike K from the Charlotte Observer. Y'all make sure you check them out. You will never regret a subscription to the Charlotte Observer. But he did a stock up, stock down section. And he has mentioned Chau Smith-Wade, Panthers cornerback Chau Smith-Wade. Chau Smith-Wade has been the most consistent defensive performer in camp. He's broken up passes regularly, and there's been a buzz about him since the offseason program. The second-year nickel corner, known for his football IQ, after learning the position on the fly last season, he really came to his own on field, on and in the classroom. Head coach Dave Canales praised his attention to detail and work rate with Smith Wade, and even said he feels like a 10-year veteran at the nickel spot. There's a lot of external questions about the cornerback depth chart heading into the offseason, but Smith Wade has at least eased concerns about that spot. With Smith Wade driving at nickel, the Panthers can feel good about their top 3 players at the position, including starters J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. CK, I remember a year ago during the Senior Bowl, he was one of the breakout players at the Senior Bowl, and the Panthers fell in love with him there. It's perfect timing to see him come on like this, and for Canales to say that he already has the IQ of a 10-year veteran. Dude, that's a perfect headline.
Oh, dude, that's what you want to see from a defensive player that right now, I mean, if coming into the season, most people would have put him as a cut candidate.
Sure.
This wouldn't have been this. Chau Smith-Wade was not on the radar of being the guy coming into this offseason. There were plenty of times last season where maybe he had the better of him gotten from opposing offenses. Listen, that every part of that defense was god awful. Chau Smith-Wade was a rookie. He was thrown to the fire, as that article alludes to. He was learning nickel for the first time out of the blue, never having played a snap in that role before, while learning a new defense, being a rookie, trying to learn the game speed of it all. I think this will be a telling year for him. And dude, if we get a nickel corner figured out while also having a number 1 and a number 2 cornerback figured out, it might be ready for those defensive linemen to eat, because that's where I think we're going to get a lot more push up the middle, is when these quarterbacks have to hold onto the ball a lot longer than they maybe anticipate, because we have some great coverage guys out there. So this is best case scenario that we could have hoped for, is this guy turning into being a guy, being a dude, being a dog.
Dude, imagine if we can get a pass rush and we can let our defensive backs play the ball and make plays on the ball like they're already doing it in practice. Man, dude, shout out to Pandas. Says we need Thieves Avenue 2.0. But CK, he also has the endorsement of one Dan Morgan. This is what you had to say on WFNZ.
This thing with Chau, you see, is just the confidence that he's grown in the defense, how smart he is. He can play multiple positions within the defense, and he's just a fiery competitor. So we love having him out there. I don't really see him leaving the field during the game, just because he can do so much and he's such a playmaker. We're lucky to have him. The biggest thing.
So, CK, it doesn't seem like they like him. It kind of seems like they're loving him. Dude. And that's perfect, man.
You can't ask for better words to be spoken. And right now, boys, as a Dan Morgan skeptic prior to his hire, dude has been having even in hindsight, has been having himself a career at the GM role. I don't know what to say about this, but right now, even when you look to last year, the only hiccups, and nobody could have predicted the hiccup that was Jonathan Brooks, outside of putting him out there for a lost season, right? That's unfortunate, and we probably should have just sat him out for the entire year with the season being gone already. I get that. However, outside of that, I don't know that you say that this dude has missed. And if Smith-Wade, if he turns it up, bro, I am not going to question Dan Morgan about anything. Who he thinks is a dog, what trades he decides to make. If this season and these guys turn out the way we're hoping, bro, Dan Morgan has got my vote for another extension for 10 years. I don't even care.
I've always said I think he will be a better general manager than he was a football player, and he was a damn good football player, CK. You can go back on the pod. I originally wanted to hire Dan Morgan over Scott Fitterer.
Yeah, I mean, I did too.
Fitterer. I've been a fan of Dan Morgan for such a long time and the potential that he had as a GM, and it seems like my man has a real knack for finding dogs. Let's go. Love me some Dan Morgan.
I know this isn't the conversation that we're having right now, but I think his time under Scott Fitterer allows him, because he's been successful pretty much in an office that's been successful constantly, right? And I think sometimes seeing failure in such a massive way, like we saw in the Panthers for the past 5 years, 10 years, really, if you want to get technical, I think that it allows him to approach this with a little bit different perspective. So while I agree, I think that he should have been hired over Scott Fitterer initially, I think it only made his style of being a GM that much more valuable because of being able to see what not to do. It's like you learn from the mistakes of others in a little bit more of a way than you do sometimes seeing constant success.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're able to stack last year's draft class on top of this one and then count a bunch of players who end up being difference makers for us and full-time starters, like, gosh, how do you not feel comfortable with this man at the helm of your organization going forward, man? I am so excited just hearing about how all these players are all turning it on at the right time. Dude, I am pumped for some Panthers football. And listen, I don't mean to bring down the energy, but we have to talk about this. Both Derrick Brown is being held out of joint practices, and Hunter Renfrow, they're managing his workload. We didn't see either of them at FanFest. Canales says Derrick Brown will likely be held out of joint practice, dealing with an oblique and rib issue. I don't love to hear that, CK. Then he says when it comes to Renfrow, that he's doing great. They're managing his workload in practice. They haven't decided if he'll play in the preseason. And Nick Scorton is pretty much in the same boat. So that's not one, not two, but three big-time players that you're hoping are going to be real difference makers for the Panthers this year. And they're already dealing with some injuries. Like I said, I don't love that, but I don't necessarily feel like it's the right time to panic about it either, especially since Hunter Renfrow was out there making plays. And listen, CK, as you already know, I wouldn't even play the dudes in preseason. I'm not a proponent of playing the starters at all. So, dude, let these dudes rest. Let them be ready for Jacksonville. I do not need to see them against the Browns or the Texans or whoever we play week 3 of the preseason.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying there, Cody. Although I do think that having these starters play is the most important thing possible. But yeah, panic button not necessary here. I think an oblique ribs injury for Derrick Brown, probably just sore, probably. Don't want to be proactive with a guy like Derrick Brown, who's clearly incredibly important, I'll say, to this Panthers defense. Hunter Renfrow, I think, again, they're exercising an abundance of caution. A lot of people are saying cut candidate in the chat, in the C3 Legion chat. I think if he was a cut candidate, I think they wouldn't hold him out at all, right? There'd be no reason. Like if he can go, they're not gonna manage his workload. I think they value what he brings to the table so very highly that they are being incredibly cautious with him. So I think there's plenty of people in the chat that aren't going to want to hear this, but Renfrow has been having too good of a camp for us to just throw out this idea that they're going to cut him because he has a tweak to his hamstring. This is clearly the team being cautious.
CK, like, I know I'm a Clemson fan. Everyone knows it. But I'm not just being biased in that it feels like Renfrow is already a lot to make this roster. And the fact that they're not playing him during preseason, like, isn't that all the evidence that you need? Like, they are depending on Renfrow, I believe, to be their Adam Thielen of the future.
Cody, not even that. Not even just that. They have him as second string in front of Jimmy Horn Jr., who is third string. And we know that Jimmy Horn Jr. is not going to get cut, right? I think we all can probably make that assumption that he's sticking it out. So, and on top of that, they have Hunter Renfrow as the second string kick returner. And so when you're talking about a kick returner that oftentimes does get hurt, or at least has to sit out for a game or two a year, you're not going to take away your second stringer like that. I think that they're not putting him there just to, blow smoke or get trade bait for Hunter Renfrow. I think legitimately they value what he's going to bring to the table. And so I think he's sticking it around.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think Panther fans are going to love it because this dude is literally going to go from being a guy who took a year off because of Crohn's disease to being a guy who is almost like a safety valve for Bryce Young. And it could not have come at a better time for the Panthers. CK, before we jump into the cat calls, the last thing that I have on the presentation before we jump into those, it really feels like not only are some of our players turning a corner, but I feel like the coaching staff is as well. And Dave Canales put out this quote that if the Panthers ever win a Super Bowl, this quote right here could go up on the walls of the stadium. He says, I don't care what school you came from or how many stars you had. This is Carolina. The Heat's relentless, and so are we. You earn your spot with discipline, toughness, and dog in your heart. Nothing is a given, and you take what you want. Oh, I got goosebumps, CK. This is the type of energy that we have been in such dire need of, man. Coming from a young, offensive-minded coach, not only am I excited for these players this year, but I really think that the next evolution of Dave Canales and what he can do with the weapons in this offense is going to do wonders for our culture this year. And to see this man, who is now his second year as a full-time head coach, to see him make statements like this, I fucking love it, man. This is everything that I want the Carolina Panthers to be about.
Bro, it's a different tone to it than I think we've heard in a long time. At FanFest, one of the things I love so much about Dave Canales is his charisma, right? And when you watch at FanFest, for those, I don't know if they had everything televised or not, but there was a moment where Dave Canales actually takes the mic and he's talking to everybody in the stadium. And in a situation where most people would have stuttered, skipped a word, maybe misspoke about something, the dude has such a presence that you can't help but listen to every word he says. Again, it's impressive, and I think there's a reason that this team seems to rally around this guy. I think that the combination of him and Dan Morgan leading this team, I hate to say it, like I don't know that I felt like there's been a coach like Dave Canales for the Panthers at any point, not just in the recent future or recent past, but at any point in Panthers history. I don't know that we've had a coach that embodies not only charisma, but he takes care of himself physically, right? He's physically athletic. He's got Chad. Dude, but even beyond that, he walks the walk, he talks the talk. People are going to respect him. If you had a Rex Ryan coming in, right, fat as can be, you're not going to respect much that dude says because he's not able to do anything you do. Right?
A Matt Rule, if you will.
Yeah, a Matt Rule, right? You're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to be like, why is this dude who can't even walk up a set of stairs telling me that I should be doing this or that or running around the field? Why don't you do that? You know what I mean? Like, you need that more than I do, dog. Right? But they can't say that. This dude not only pushes these guys to be better, he pushes himself beyond what most people in any part of the world are doing to try to make themselves healthy, to make themselves a better person. And he's got self-reflection that is incredible based on his book. He's got these leadership skills that are incredible based on what we've seen from players. Dude, I hate to say it, but brother is kind of the perfect package. If he can bring a Super Bowl to the Carolina Panthers, I'm calling it now. Let's just add him to the Hall of Honor immediately. I don't even care. Like it's screw Cam Newton at that point. Just put Dave Canales up there. It's cool with me.
Dude, the guys want to beat him, the girls want to bang him, and the players want to run through a brick wall for him. Dude, I love Dave Canales. I'm very excited for what he's going to be able to do this year for the Carolina Panthers. CK, you know what I feel like we need to do right now? We've had a great show tonight. We've had Jamal Coker, father of Jalen Coker, on the show. Gave great insights into his son, what he's going to do in his second year. We've talked about Leighton Ransom, Chau Smith-Wade, Dave Canales. But you know what I think we need to do? It's time to take some cat calls, baby. Have your voice heard on the longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's roll.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use
one? Meeting you guys at FanFest. C3 Legion was fun to be with. It felt more
David, what's up, brother?
Than just some fans. So that was nice to see. Yeah, it was nice to meet everybody. On the side note, after, going to FanFest and coming back home, kind of watching some of the highlights, one thing that kind of is concerning to me is Xavier Legette. He catching with his body, not with his hands, is kind of reverting to his college days or last year. So I'm hoping he cleans that up and starts catching with his hands. And same thing with Orrin Jr. He also was catching with his body, not his hands. They need to start catching with their hands. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully there's a good show and keep pounding.
Keep pounding, brother. So listen, it's a story that, love it or hate it, it is going to follow Xavier Legette until he proves that this is not a problem.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to give a quick thank you and shout out to David. Y'all check out his content at Facebook Films on YouTube. They were cool enough to do a documentary basically on me, on your boy at FanFest. It'll be coming out sometime around December, and I want to thank him and his wife Sarah for coming and profiling me in the way that they did. But CK, he brought up Xavier Legette, and he's still mentioning how a lot of the, let me take this down, that he's still catching with his chest as opposed to with his hands. This was the drop that would have been a beautiful pass by Bryce Young during FanFest. Some people say that maybe he was interfered with. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this. Bryce Young scrambles to the right. Oh no, this is actually the touchdown. I need to find the one they fumbled or they dropped in the end zone. But how are you feeling about Xavier Legette right now? And do you think he still has a problem catching with his chest and not his hands?
Yeah, I think that's just something that he's probably learned for his entire life. It's going to take some while to unwind that, I think. But I think that there's evidence that he's trying, right? And that's with the amount of work that he's put in after practice. Pretty much every training camp practice that they have, he's out there afterwards with the jugs machine. I think he's probably talked to Chuba Hubbard about that. It's one of those things. I think, again, it just takes some time to kind of not to get rid of those habits that you've formed after a lifetime of doing things that way. But man, I'm not worried about it. I think that It's something that will be shored up. Listen, people don't just in his position. I'd like to make this assumption: he's not just going to rest on his laurels. He's too much money at stake for him to not be working on these things. So I think he's going to be putting himself in a position to try to improve those things. But yeah, I mean, I think there's fair point to even that touchdown catch right there. It did feel like it wasn't really a handsy type of a catch. It was more of a, rested against my rib cage while I'm, trying to catch it there.
Yeah, listen, and I've said this too, especially with all of the extracurricular activities that he was a part of in the offseason, going to the Kentucky Derby, being in a music video with Glorilla, all of these different things, and you have this narrative around him dropping the ball. He's going to have to overcome that this year. And let me tell you, if he continues to have those drops, the criticisms are going to be very loud, and there's nothing that you can do about that. So he's really going to have to show up in a big way. Even if he was interfered with, CK, and I tried to find the clip. I'm having a hard time finding it. Maybe some of the boys can drop in the C3 Legion chat if they find it for me. But even if his hand was interfered with, I do feel like there is an argument to be made that both of his hands should have been up in the air going for the ball rather than having the ball come to him. And I do think that there is some legitimate criticism there, but I'm not going to nitpick over it. Like I said, he did have a nice touchdown on a slant route that Bryce delivered to him. He's very strong. I think he'll be great with yards after contact, but he is going to have to get better catching and hauling in some of these deep balls.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, he had some drops, and they were pretty major drops last year. Even in that one that was pass interference, I think the best wide receivers come down with that ball, right? Even though it is a lot harder because there is and I think it was pretty clear pass interference. But, when you look at some of the alternative, angles to it, but it is what it is, man. It's something that I'm willing to give him the benefit of time, and we'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Flame for Jesus for the C3 love bomb. He says, what concerns me is the back end of the defense. If we don't have a top 10 offense, I would be disappointed in Bryce's leadership skills. We added another running back plus 2 more wide receivers. And it's a great point that this year, it's a big time year for Bryce. We put a lot of weapons around him. We have the most expensive offensive line in the NFL, 2,000-yard backs, 2 first-round picks at wide receiver. This is going to be a big time year for Bryce Young going forward. CK, let's take another call. And if I can find the clip of XL, the one in question, I'll play it for us.
Just calling back again. I had a funny story to share. We were all at that restaurant by the stadium for FanFest.
Clutch Poorhouse.
Corner of my eye, running, jogging, blue shirt on. And the first thing I noticed when I looked at him, I saw this big forehead. I think it was so big that was the first thing I noticed, and it turns out it was that Brad Tillett running by. I was trying to tell him.
Yeah, did you see him?
Brad Tillett just ran by. Nobody saw him. But the funny part about the whole thing is that the first thing I noticed was his forehead. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. He found it.
Yeah, he told me about it though.
Yeah, dude, David pointed him out, and I saw him at the last second. I guess Brent Tillis was somewhere near the stadium by Clutch Poorhouse. By the way, shout out Clutch. What a great place, but great food, great servers. I think pretty much any C3 Legion meetup in the future is going to be at Clutch Poorhouse. That place is awesome. Love the people there. Shout out to them. But yeah, Brent Tillis, that's another name, CK, that we need to mention more often. I feel like going forward, when the Panthers do their contracts and do their extensions, he is going to be the guy who is going to basically, determine all the dollars and cents of how much these players get played and how it fits in with the salary cap overall.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I think what I think he does is it allows Dan Morgan to focus on the things that's going to make him a great GM, and that is player evaluation and general football operation, as I think as a president of football operations is his general role. I think taking the complication of how the contracts are structured and all of that off of his plate is going to provide a lot more success when it comes to these developmental players that we're picking later in the draft, as we've started to kind of see some of those some of that investment pay dividends so far. But yeah, this is I think Brant Tellis is a very valuable asset to what this team is trying to do moving forward. I only hope that he isn't taken from us. It's going to be an interesting conversation because I don't see him as being the guy who's going to get a GM role somewhere. I think he's always going to be the numbers guy. So I think we have a pretty good amount of security having him here for a long term, but we'll see other teams tend to be a little bit illogical when they start to see success from a organization and they want to start to poach those people.
It'll be interesting because I know that he was a big part of the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs were able to sign Patrick Mahomes to that 10-year deal when they did. So I couldn't find the video clip of Xavier Legette at FanFest. Like I said, someone send it to me via DM if you have it. But this is some very blurry pictures that Kev sent. And yeah, you can see that the defender is draped all over him. But, there's always this old rule, this old adage, if the ball hits you, you should catch it. And I think that you have to play through contact sometime. Yeah. Like I said, I am not freaking out about this by any means. I'm not worrying about Xavier Legette going forward.
Yeah.
But I do think that, he has to be the one to make this narrative go away this year. And I'm pulling for him, man. I think he can do it. And I think that if he can do it, he still has number one wide receiver potential.
He does. And I think that it's the same thing that we've said about Bryce Young. It's the same thing I said about Matt Corral. It's the same thing I've said about a lot of people. If he isn't given anything, right? He's got the benefit of the doubt of his rookie season, but he is not going to be handed a hall pass this year. There are going to be people who are going to make excuses no matter what, and I get it. There is going to be fandom that exists around Xavier Legette. He does have to be, to your point, he has to be the only he's the only one that is going to be able to change his perception. And if the ball isn't hitting him in the hands and it's because of quarterback play, well, guess what? That's not going to ever be blamed on Xavier Legette. It's always going to be blamed on the quarterback. We know it's happened constantly, and we've seen it happen, and we will blame the quarterback every single time when it is a bad throw.
Sure.
But when it is a drop, we do put that blame on the wide receiver, and he has to outperform what he did last year. Even though it wasn't egregious, it was concerning. And if you say otherwise, then I think you're only putting yourself in a position to be considered a biased, observer, if you will. But if you look at that and you say, hey, listen, I am concerned about his drops. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. You're a real Panthers fan in my book.
Have to call a spade a spade. It is what it is, Let's take another call, CK.
CK, Tony Dunn, Cody Lack, C3 Legion. What up, y'all?
Oh, what's up?
Real quick. Hey, I'm leaving this message a little bit early on Tuesday. I got family coming into town tonight, so I apologize if y'all already covered some of this, but just got a little bit I got to say. So Alex Zeitler from the Charlotte Observer, he talked about this regarding Bryce Young. He said that Bryce can be streaky. And I remember a couple of years ago when Bryce first came in the league, Frank Reich said that exact same thing. He said that Bryce Young can be streaky. This is why I'm so glad that Dave Canales has gone ahead and mentioned that the starters will play some in the preseason. This is what I was talking about a few weeks ago. So I don't know if y'all heard this or not, but Joe Burrow talked about this, about preseason game reps. and how much that helps the quarterback when it comes to timing and some of the other things, as far as potentially getting hit. Burrow talked about that. The thing is, y'all, and I know we've been split on this, but y'all look, them preseason reps matter. The same way scared money don't make no money, playing scared don't pay no dividends either, y'all.
Yes, sir.
And that's the reason Bryce need to play. If they're saying he's streaky, he need to play. So that way, him and a few of the others, so that way they can get this stuff out their system, man. Bad habits. But anyway, I also heard that a new linebacker, Chris Barnes, was signed. If y'all already covered it, all good. But once again, it's the Hope Dealer. Love y'all. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding, brother. We have not yet talked about Chris Barnes yet. We're going to talk about Christian Roseboom and Trevin Wallace this year. But, CK, I pretty much accepted the fact that our linebacker depth is going to be kind of thin. Dave Gettleman once said, and, he had all those great Gettleman-isms and he couldn't follow his own plans and Gettleman-isms. But, he said that you're not ever going to have a ton of depth at every position on your roster.
Right.
I feel like the Panthers are doing the best to the best of their ability. They're trying to fill out the depth, but I've kind of just assumed that linebacker depth is going to be very thin this year. I'm really hoping that Trevin Wallace and Christian Roseboom can stay healthy for the majority of the year. But we're going to have to see, man. We're going to be placing a lot on the shoulders of these two men in 2025.
Oh, for sure. I think that's incredibly apparent that they have high hopes for these guys. I don't think that we're going to be going out and making a splash at linebacker as much as I'd love to be able to say we got that shored up. But to say it's not a concern would be underplaying the circumstances. I don't think we have anybody at that position that I'm like, we know we're shored up here, right? We're hopeful and optimistic that we are, but we don't know. And there's not a person that can actually say with confidence that they feel like this year, this middle linebacker position, the linebacker as a whole, is not a problem because we just don't know. You could be optimistic, but nobody really knows. Additionally, to the other point, I'm happy to rehash this conversation because I think talking about Joe Burrow having that conversation about preseason and playing in the preseason, this is a guy who has been injured. This is a guy who's gone through season-ending problems, and he still sees a value in playing in preseason. I think that we take that and we run with it. Listen, last year Bryce Young didn't play in the preseason, right? And that was a concern to me. Or did he play for a very short period of time? I can't remember.
He really didn't play. I think he played in the final game.
Yeah, but it was like one
yeah,
series.
it was very, very.
It was
short.
Very brief.
Very brief.
And so I think that developing that chemistry with your team can be incredibly helpful because let's be fair, like even last year after he came back from his benching, he did okay, but he got better and better as the season went on, right? It wasn't until about 2-3 games in of him playing with everybody that he started to get his groove with these guys. And so I would rather him get that out of his system right now, get that chemistry rolling, get this team firing on all cylinders prior to the season, instead of running into a situation, a buzzsaw, if you will, like we did against New Orleans and with the Chargers in week 1 and 2 last year.
Yeah. Listen, Bryce, again, we have different views on this, but ultimately I do think it will be a good thing for Bryce to get some reps. It will be a vanilla offense, so it's not going to be the full extent of the playbook and what we're going to ask him to do throughout the course of the season. But yeah, I mean, just seeing him get some work against another team, not named the Carolina Panthers, yeah, I do think that's going to be very beneficial for him. And I'm excited to see what he can do here very soon this Friday. And by the way, this Friday's free-for-all will be a watch-along as we watch the Carolina Panthers take on the Cleveland Browns. So be a part of the show that is for Panther fans by Panther fans. We appreciate y'all. CK, let's take another call.
Let's
guys,
do it.
John B. Jenkins here, calling in
John
with another
B.
update on alternative football leagues from around the world. Missed the update last week, and to be honest, y'all, I do this alternative football thing as a way to scratch the itch and feed the addiction on football. And
Yes,
once
sir.
training camp started, a lot of my attention has gone there. But I'm going to give you guys an update, and we'll continue to give you updates throughout the season as news occurs. So let's start off with an update on the European League of Football and an update on your favorite team in that league, the Panthers Froschlaw. They lost the game last weekend, and I don't even know what game they're playing this weekend, to be honest. So there's that. And then moving over to the Arena League, I'm sorry to say that our Ozark Slunkers it was a catch and release. They got into the playoffs, but they threw them back out because the team wasn't big enough. They couldn't stand up to the defending champion Duluth Harbor Monsters, and lost by about 30-something points. So that was kind of a bum to see. But I have enjoyed rooting for that team this year and sharing that with you guys. And other news, the Indoor Football League just finished up their first round of playoffs. Dude, that is such an exciting league. You guys definitely need to go check out the highlights on YouTube. I have paid for the season pass and then the playoff pass, and it cost me $40 total. And I know that's like a lot to spend on an alternative football league, but it's 18 teams, and they got a lot of really good production coverage. And I don't know, it's just been fun watching that this season. But yeah, let's move on to the NFL. We got a game coming up this weekend, or is it this Friday? I'm actually flying down
Friday.
with my mom down in Florida, and we're going to be able to watch that game together. So that's going to be real cool. I really hope that we win every preseason game. I know most people don't care about the preseason, but I love the preseason. It is the ultimate reality football. In fact, preseason is kind of an extension of all these alternative football leagues that I watch, because some of these guys that I've been watching in the spring leagues and the summer leagues will be playing in these NFL preseason games. So
yeah,
will they make the team? Will they not make the team? Anyway, I'm super psyched about the game. Super psyched to watch Panthers football with y'all. That's all I got for right now. But as always, keep pounding Carolina Panthers. Keep pounding Panthers Froschlaw. Go Fish, and keep pounding C3 Panthers Podcast. John B. Jenkins
Go
out.
Fish. Go Fish. John B., you're the man, bro. And we love the Panthers updates from Panthers Roshlaw, Ryan Khalil's team, all of them, man. Dude, we love it. Your love for the game of football keeps us going, brother, especially in those dry times when there is no football to talk about, bro. So we definitely appreciate you, man. CK, let's keep rolling.
Let's do it.
Yo, what's going on, T3?
What up, Ant?
Charlotte, hope y'all boys are having a good Tuesday, man. Just wanted to call in, give my thoughts. First off, you guys are probably going to hear this later, but shout out to G-Pibby with the influence to get Jalen Coker's dad on. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an awesome show. Can't wait to tune in.
Oh, yeah.
Just wanted to call in, give some of my thoughts ahead of preseason. Also wanted to say it was an honor to meet some more of the C3 brethren, man. Panther Pickle, Dees, Jake, Cole. I miss CK there, but, you know, you guys are all awesome people, man. Important people in my life, definitely positive influence.
Appreciate you, brother.
What we're trying to do in this community, and just genuine people as well. So I appreciate you guys being so open and nice to me. That's always appreciated as, you know, a young guy.
Of course, man.
Hanging around people with more knowledge than me. So I appreciate you guys. Obviously, it's all love there. Second thing is, first preseason game this Friday. We got the Browns. We got Shador starting for the Browns. I don't know if it was a coincidence that Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett were injured at this time, but he's definitely going to help sell out the seats at Bank of America, man. It should be awesome. Obviously, on the Panthers side, we got the start of 2 games, and this is something you love to see, man. Dan Morgan, David Canales, for the most part, I've given a lot of praise and respect to. There's obviously been bumps in the road for young GMs and young coaches in this regime with them being that, but they're learning, and I think it's a big step forward to see Dave Canales say, listen, We had a quarterback last year who came into the year still with low confidence after, you know, the disaster of what was his rookie season. We probably should have given him more reps, especially since he was learning a new system again. So it's great to see that there's continuity in that. He's going to be in the same system now. He's going to have more control over the system. You got T-Mac playing as well. I can't wait to see how that looks. I know in FanFest he didn't really do anything. I couldn't tell if FanFest was, you know, I don't think it was meant to be that serious of a practice in terms of the competition level. I think it was just kind of feeling stuff out. But you love to see that the starters are going to play. I'm not really worried about the offense, if I'm being honest. I'm not. I think the offense is stacked. I think the offense has a ton of potential. The defense, though, I'm going to be very tuned into that. We really need to see how this defense looks, especially versus Shedeur. I think it's going to be give us a good idea. Like, we should be able to shut down him for the most part. There's a lot of new additions on the defense. I've said many times throughout the offseason, my hope is the defense can jump into a top 20 defense. I think that would be best case scenario this year. Give me your thoughts, though, on everything I said. You already know the vibes. Anthony from Charlotte, keep motherfucking pounding.
Keep motherfucking pounding. It definitely served the purpose of FanFest of getting everyone excited. But I do agree with Anthony that this defense, it can make a real jump this year, CK.
I'm hoping, man. I think it's the biggest question mark that we have left is to see how this performs as a whole. Listen, I know we talked about Dave Canales already, but I want to shout out the fact that FanFest historically has just been a glorified practice that hasn't really had a tremendous amount of the 7-on-7s, 11-on-11.
Yeah,
like they treated this legitimately the best way they possibly could, and I think it was primarily for the fans. I do not think that this was a coincidence or just by happenstance that they decided to use FanFest as a way to scrimmage for a real game. I think that a real environment of games, if you will. So I think that I want to shout out dude for doing his best, not only to give his team a more accurate representation of what to expect during a real game by having fans actually there, but also, like, I think it was for the fans. I think that if that wasn't for FanFest, I don't think you were seeing that type of a scrimmage at any point outside of just maybe a few reps, maybe a few series for these guys. They went full in. They did a halftime. They did everything. So that FanFest was awesome. If anybody's interested in checking out FanFest, my son would be ecstatic if you guys did this. He has his own little YouTube video or YouTube called Blake Bro 16, and he took my phone, videoed pretty much the entire thing. It's not great footage. You're not going to get a tremendous amount of things from it, but he did videotape a good portion of what you saw at FanFest. And the fireworks show pretty much the entire thing. So if you guys are interested in going to check that out, it's Blake Bro 16. Subscribe to him so that tomorrow morning when he wakes up, he can find out that his YouTube channel has an extra 20 subscribers or what have you.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Hey, drop his YouTube in the chat. It should let you. And yeah, y'all run it up, man. Check out CK's son and his YouTube page and show him some love from the C3 Legion, man. You already know. We only have 4 more callers, CK. Let's power through them.
What's going on? It's me, C-Dog, 1983 TV. Whenever you come in here, make sure you hit the motherfucking like button. Make sure you subscribe to the great content. The C3 Podcast is the longest running Panthers podcast on YouTube. Put some respect on their motherfucking name.
Yes,
they go live every Tuesday. They got the free for all every Friday. During the season, we got the Madden simulation on Saturday. On Sunday, they got the goddamn game recaps every goddamn Sunday. What's up, everybody? It's me, C-Dog, and this motherfucker. Man, real quick, I love that they had Jalen Coker's dad on the show tonight and everything. Real great. Just super great. Super excited for everything, with his dad and Jalen Coker for this upcoming season.
Happy you liked it, man.
But we are like 3 to 4 weeks away from the football season, and real quick before I even say anything, if you haven't seen it, man, John Gruden broke down the NFC South, and he did a wonderful job of it. But then he talked about the
Yeah.
Carolina Panthers, man. For anybody who didn't see that, you should go watch that if you're a real Panthers fan. But real quick, man, we are 3 to 4 weeks away from game 1 of the season against the Jaguars. Week 1, Duval takeover. We're going to be deep in motherfucking Duval. If you're going to be in Duval, goddamn fuck with me. Goddamn hit my Instagram, CDawg1983TV. Hit my Instagram. You want to goddamn link up, get a beer or something, whatever, But, man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this goddamn season, man. The first game of the goddamn season, we in the fucking building. I'm predicting a goddamn blowout. Probably like 31-7, somewhere in there. But if the Jaguars don't have any points before halftime, I don't see them getting anything but field goals after halftime. I don't see them getting a touchdown after halftime. That's just being me. The defense about to be motherfucking lit. We got all these goddamn junkyard dogs. Then now goddamn Ransom goddamn been showing his ass in goddamn practice. It's very, very exciting time right now, man. A very exciting time right now to be a Panthers fan, man. It really is. It really fucking is, But, man, I just can't wait, man. I can't wait till the season gets started and be back on the way to the fucking playoffs and the goddamn division titles and shit like that, But, man, whenever you come in here, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to this great content. The C3 Podcast is the longest running Panthers podcast on YouTube. It do go live every Tuesday, Friday, game simulation Saturday.
Oh, he got cut off. Hey, shout out to C-Dog. By the way, he was talking about John Gruden breaking down the NFC South. Dude, how do you not love John Gruden? That dude is so enthusiastic about football. Here's a very small clip of him talking about the Panthers and the NFC South.
Clearly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the last 2 years have been the best. They have 94 sacks, 7th in the NFL. And Carolina, they are dead last, 32nd in the league with 59 sacks. That pisses me off. When I coached against Carolina, they had fucking Julius Peppers over there. Couldn't block that sumbitch. Clearly.
Dude, Gruden gets it. He gets it. He gets that the best version of the Carolina Panthers are out to absolutely kick your ass, man. And I feel like this version of the Panthers could absolutely do that, man.
No, dude, yeah, it's man. Again, I know we're just kind of repeating ourselves over and over at this point in time, but there's a feeling of optimism beyond what I think we felt in years past. Right? There's hope, and it's not skeptical hope. Right? As an example, right? I guess a couple of years, maybe even that second year of Matt Rule's tenure here, we were doing our picks for how many wins we're going to get that year. And that might have been the year me and you, Cody, had us winning 10, 11 games, something like that. And Bad Daddy, we ended up convincing him that we were going to win more games. And so he switched his over to having a much higher count than what he did, and probably should have stuck with what he had initially said. We've been optimistic before, but I don't know that we have been like excitedly optimistic, like almost to the point where it's like, if this doesn't work, I don't know if I can get excited about anything ever again. Right? That's the type of optimism I have for this team this year. And that can be a worrisome type of a situation. I think that anytime you put your own mental health around how well your NFL team is doing, it certainly isn't a recipe for a healthy mental life situation there. But listen, I'm excited to see what these dudes can finally do once we get some live game action. And until that happens, everything we're excited about is completely and unequivocally unfounded and has no basis in real reality outside of what we'd like to see happen. And part of the thing that I think is frustrating is we're only able to take what the media and what the team themselves are showing us for the most part outside of FanFest, and we're only able to take that as fact at this point. I don't believe anybody's lying about the stuff that they're reporting about, but I do feel like having fans there to hold the media accountable to what they're saying and the Panthers to what they're doing, I think is important to maybe leveling out the optimism a bit.
CK, you sort of brought it up, but it's like, dude, every year we get excited about Panthers football, and we feel like there's a legit reason to be excited, that there's something to be looking for. Dude, to get let down year after year after year. And listen, I know a lot of other teams have gone through it. We're getting ready to play the Cleveland Browns. I know they've certainly been through it. A bunch of teams have been through it. But, man, it's like, when you don't have such a long history like some of these other teams do, it gets rough, man, when you don't have a lot to be able to rest your head on. We have 2003, 2015, and we have some good seasons in between that time. I know 2013 was such a waste of a Super Bowl caliber defense, in my opinion. But the fact that we're now starting to build momentum, to have that rug pulled out from under us again after we moved up to draft a quarterback, we got the offensive-minded head coach, we feel like we just drafted a potential superstar at wide receiver in Teteroa McMillan. We really need this season to pay off. And another thing to add on top of that, CK, you and I were at FanFest. This was one of the best turnouts at FanFest that I had seen in a while. And this is like my 4th year in a row being at FanFest. They had over 40,000 people in attendance. Dude, there is a real buzz, a real fervor around the Carolina Panthers, and it's time for this to pay off. It's time for us, man. Time for the pod, time for the C3 Legion, and time for these Panther fans in general.
Yeah, it's time for something to change. We can't have things continue down the path they're on. It's just there's something about the ebbs and flow of the league. We were talking about ebbs and flows earlier with Jamal Coker, but the ebbs and flows of the league, it's not often, it happens, but it's not often a team has this long of a drought. And so the success is bound, just from statistically speaking, success is bound to be around the corner. Whether it means success in the form of us having a positive winning season, I don't know, but just history is on our side with this year being maybe better than we anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on with these calls. Only 3 more left.
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes them howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther.
What up, Joey?
I know you haven't heard my amazingly wonderful voice in like 3 months, but that's because I had nothing to talk about. Literally nothing to talk about. But now, we actually get to see some semblance of Panthers football on Friday.
Yeah.
Or I get to hear it on the radio, but y'all get to see it. But we know it's not the real thing, but hey, it's preseason, and everyone who likes to say, oh, preseason doesn't matter, that's when you test out the depth. That's when you see the rookies. That's when you see the T-Mac, and that's when you see the Scorton and Princely and Trevor Etienne and all those guys. That's when you see them. And you know what? Sometimes you will catch a player in preseason that is really the star of the show and really is fighting hard to make the team, and then you end up rooting for him. That's preseason football.
Yeah.
And finally, the fall is upon us. The Panthers are upon us, for better or worse. The Panthers may or may not be paid off by, I found this out today, I think the Panthers might be in the pockets of the Craft Brewers Guild of North and South Carolina, because the more they lose, the more of their beers I need to buy. But anyway, I hope that the Panthers do great this year, and I'm just looking forward to it, man. Shout out to Jamal Coker. He's a beast. His son's a beast. Anyway.
Yeah. See, that's how I know it's Panther football time, CK. Whenever Joey the Blind Panther is giving us the roar and the cat calls.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Panther football is
Good time.
upon us. 2 more calls, CK, then we'll finish out the rest of the show and get out of here.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, this is John B. Jenkins, and I was just calling in to comment on that interview with Jamal Coker. Jamal, I don't know if you're still listening or not, but one thing you said in that interview really hit home for me as a dad, and it was kind of at the beginning. You were just talking about how it's really cool to hear people talk about how great of a football player your son is, but that it's even cooler to hear them say how much of a good person he is. And as a dad, I just totally relate to that, man. I got a 12-year-old, and he's into sports, and, you know, I think he's pretty good at it. But more importantly, you know, when he hangs out with his friends and I go to pick him up from his parents, from their house, you know, his friend's parents' house, whatever, and I get a report back that, you know, he's done a good job, he's been polite. I don't know, man. That's what you want to hear as a dad, and I know the dads and the moms out there can totally relate, and you know, even the aunts and uncles. You know, you guys, probably your nieces and nephews too. So don't want to leave y'all out, but anyway, that was just a great interview. You know, Cody or whoever got that interview together, good on you. As they say in Australia, good on you, mate. But I'm so psyched for this season. Having Jamal on was a really cool treat. This is going to be a great year to be a Panthers fan, and I'm really happy to be sharing this with all y'all out there. So, keep pounding everybody, and we're going to get it this year. John B. Jenkins out.
Yeah, shout out to John B. We appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
And listen, man, if you want to know who made that happen, it was none other than the man himself.
Hey. You know who the fuck it is. Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka. What's good with my boys? What's good with your CK? What's good with my dog Cody Lathan? And what's good with my white Italian brother? Hey, man, shout out to you, Mr. Jalen Coker. And shout out to you, Mr. Jamal Coker. Hey, y'all, shout out to the interview, man. Hey, that was an amazing interview. Cinematic like a motherfucker, man. Hey, Papa Coker, man, thank you, G. Thank you, G. I needed that, G. Thank you, man. Thank you so much, man, for taking the time to come on to just taking your valuable time just to come up. Just to come up and do your thing with the dog.
It really was awesome.
And I wish Tony could have been a part of that, man. Oh, man, that was fire, y'all. Cody Lathan, man. CK, thank you, dog. Thank you so much, man. That's real love right there, man. And that was Cody, the questions. And CK, the questions were just, I know it was so, like, last minute, but for y'all to be able to just ask just great questions and to be able to just get a great, long, lengthy interview like that. And we got all this content, all this information that we got today with the depth chart and whatnot. Hey, thank you, boys. Hey, it's great to be a fucking Panthers fan, y'all. Keep fucking pounding, y'all. Hey, shout out to fucking C3 Legion. Shout out to the motherfucking boys on the panel, man.
Legion.
Hey, shout out to C3 Nation and just shout out to Panther Nation, man. Hey, it's about fucking that time. We got a game this Friday. We got the free-for-all this Friday. Fedor Sanders is fucking started. Oh, it's about to get buck wild, y'all. It's about to get buck wild. Austin Corbett's our starting center, you know, like I've been saying. You know what I'm saying? And hey, Jalen Coker, shout out to you, brother. You know, you and I, you know, hey, shout out to you, Jalen. Shout out to Papa Coker, you dig? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it's great to be a fucking Panthers fan. Cody, one love, man. CK.
Appreciate you, brother.
You already know how I feel about you, one love, man. And my white Italian brother, man. I love you. It's only going to be one call. You know, Papa Coker got me feeling great. You know what I'm saying? This is one hell of a fucking interview, man. Y'all knocked that shit out of the park. Shout out to C3. C3's in my blood, man. I ain't shit without C3, man. It's C3 for
Appreciate
life.
you,
And I
brother.
mean that shit, man. I ain't shit without fucking C3, y'all. Y'all already know who the fuck this is. It's G baby, and keep fucking pounding, y'all.
Keep pounding, baby, G baby. You made that interview happen, brother. So we appreciate you, man. We're happy y'all enjoyed the interview and that y'all enjoyed the questions that me and CK asked. It was very impromptu, but dude, I thought it couldn't have gone better. I thought he was great. Dude, the whole thing was just awesome. And shout out to Panther Girl 73. She says, no pit drops from Saturday's meetup. Well, here you go, Panther Gal. This is the C3 Legion, literally right before CK and his family showed up. This is me, Anthony, Pickle, Diesel Skills, Jake, my man Cole. Dude, shout out to the C3 Legion. It was incredible. CK, I'm so happy that we're making this a yearly thing where we get to use Fan Fest as an opportunity to meet with the fans and hang out and have a couple beers and eat some good food, watch a great fireworks show, check out Carolina Panthers football. It was absolutely a wonderful time, man.
Brother, I here's the deal. It's rare. I have a bit of an issue with like content creators talking about, this is the best community because it just feels so ingenuine. I have no problem saying this. That wasn't meeting up with fans. That was meeting up with family.
Yes,
like
sir.
Legitimately, like we're all in this group chat, C3 Legion, this group chat, Friday Free for All. We may, get at each other's necks from time to time, get on each other's nerves, if you will. But what family doesn't? We at the end of the day, we all have a unifying thing, and that is that we all love the Carolina Panthers, and C3 has brought us all together. So it's been a wild ride so far, and hopefully one that's only just starting as we start to enter into 1 decade of C3 being out here on the streets, if you will. So
yes, sir, man. I wouldn't want to be a part of any other community on the internet than the C3 Legion. Shout out to Tony Dunn, man. All this is because of him starting this channel to continue to keep in contact with Joe Riolano. Rest in peace, brother. And it's just done nothing but grow from there. So shout out to the C3 Legion. We absolutely love y'all. CK, we're going to finish out the show tonight. This is Mike K, and he wrote an article that's 6 positions to pay attention to with the Browns coming to town. First one up, wide receivers, Young's chemistry with his ascending playmakers. Panthers quarterback Bryce Young has developed chemistry with several weapons over the summer. First round pick Teteroa McMillan, reclamation project, Hunter Renfrow. Young has been able to accurately connect with new arrivals and playmaking development. With the Browns coming to town, Young will look to continue that momentum, knowing that we're not going to be able to see Hunter Renfrow. Adam Thielen might be a little bit limited. It'll be interesting to see how much we see of Teteroa McMillan and Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn is another player that was incredible at FanFest, seemed explosive. That kind of speed is the type that we really need on this team right now. He looked really, really good. CK, what are some of the connections that you're looking forward to see with the Bryce and his playmakers?
Dude, I can't help. I know this is going to make people mad. I cannot help but be excited about the Hunter Renfrow, addition to this team. The dude's proven that he can be the guy in an offense that doesn't really have a lot of high power to it coming from the Raiders, right? But I think that that connection being like an outlet, hold that safety net, if you will, similar to what Adam Thielen is. I think that'll be interesting to see that start to connect more. I know that the easy answer is Tet McMillan. That's obviously going to be the number one thing most people think are going to be interested in. But as a pretty close second, it's going to be the Hunter Renfrow connection.
Yeah, to me, Jimmy Horn Jr. is continuing to see if he can carve out that niche as the speedster that he can dump off the ball to and really just do a lot of damage. Continuing to go forward, center position. Can Mays or Corbett separate themselves in the competition? Austin Corbett and Cade Mays are locked into their center battle. Both players are entering their respective fourth seasons with the franchise, and neither has really had a bad day at center so far. Love to hear that. The Panthers have been rotating at the position, and neither player has seemingly run away with the job, but the Browns offer up new looks. Mays and Corbett could get a crash course in practice adversity. Cleveland Brown first-round pick Mason Graham should be entering the test for the new offensive line, and how Corbett and Mays ascend to the job position. CK, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You know, a lot of fans have been behind Cade Mays, but when I talked to Alex Zeitlo of the Charlotte Observer, he seemed pretty entrenched that Austin Corbett would end up winning the job. Again, to me, this is anyone's job right now. Do you think that either of them could pull away in the coming days?
It's so hard to say, because I think that I don't think we're wrong one way or another about who we choose, right? I think that both of these guys are great options, and to be honest with you, I think the Austin Corbett situation, I think what this could be is him handing the reins over to a younger guy. I think it could be a situation where Austin Corbett, especially if he gets hurt again and it's a season-ending thing, I think there's no way this dude runs it back. That's 3 in a row. Like, there's no shot that dude's going to come back. He's got the age coming, and it's kind of playing against him a little bit. I know he's not overly old, but he's starting to get to that point where you start to think about what the future is. And so Cade Mays coming in here with a lot of optimism. There's a future that Cade Mays offers that Austin Corbett doesn't. And that is, I think, what might put him over the top if they were to choose one over the other. But, if they plan on keeping both of these guys all season long, which by no account do I believe they're going to cut any of them, I think that Austin Corbett's going to win the job.
Between the two of them, it is certainly a great problem to have. Inside linebacker, we mentioned this a little bit earlier. So far, so good on the new inside linebacker pair of Christian Roseboom and Trevin Wallace. But with the new offense entering the fray, Roseboom and Wallace will need to adjust accordingly. Wallace has shown strong ability to blitz during team drills. Meanwhile, Rosenboom has done a nice job as a run defender, especially during padded workouts. So they need to continue that trend against a formidable Browns offensive line, which features all pro level talent like Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. We talked about this earlier, CK. I don't love the depth on this team, but Ejiro Rivero and the rest of the coaches seem to have a lot of trust in second-year Trevin Wallace and Christian Roseboom, who has been in previous Ejiro Rivero run defenses. I really like them. I'm a big fan of Trevin Wallace, and I'm hoping that we see another huge year from him this year.
Yep. I don't think I can add much more to this conversation, more beyond what I've already done. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man. Next up, cornerback Chau Smith-Wade, or Shaw Smith-Wade, I believe you say.
Shaw, yeah.
Yeah, Thornton and Shamar Bartholomew. The cornerback group received a lot of well-earned buzz this summer with J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson signed into contracts. The team is also seeing some good stuff from the players behind the starting tandem. Shaw Smith-Wade has arguably been the most consistent defender on the field for the Panthers. The second-year nickel corner will need to follow that up with the performance against the Panthers former Panthers wideout Deontay Johnson, Pro Bowl receiver Jerry Jeudy, and dynamic tight end David Njoku. As we mentioned earlier, CK, it seems like a lot of players in this defensive backfield are really burgeoning at the right time. This is going to be a fantastic test against all those players just mentioned to see if they can continue to show that bravado that the coaches have been loving throughout training camp thus far.
Yeah, dude. How awkward is that going to be this week, tomorrow? Deontay Johnson obviously didn't leave on great terms, right?
No.
How awkward is that conversation? How is that going to be received tomorrow? Do you think that there's going to be a little bit more of a heightened emotion on his side of things coming back to the Panthers, or do you think he's reserved all his energy to, be emotional against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think especially that, listen, going into that season in the last year or whatever it was, or was it last year? Was it the first year?
It was last year, I think.
Deontay Johnson was the number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, he was brought in to be the guy, and then just flamed out here, and then flamed out in Baltimore as well. I'm sure he does have something that he wants to prove. That's why I do think it will be a good test for our defensive backfield, because the Browns will have a lot of weapons at their disposal. And like we mentioned at the start of the show, that with Shedeur Sanders being the starter, all the eyes are going to be on this preseason game. There's going to be a lot of people wondering how he will be able to distribute the ball to all those weapons. So, yeah, this is going to be a great test for our defense. Shout out to Panther Girl. We are doing a free-for-all on Friday and live reacting to the football game. So feel free to join us, be a part of that. It's going to be one hell of a time. Moving on here, safety, Ransom and Richardson. Demani Richardson looked to emerge next to Trevon Ward. The Panthers seem to be taking a starter by committee approach at strong safety, opposite free agent addition Trevon Moore. Second-year defender Demani Richardson and fourth-year pick Leighton Ransom are competing for playing time as defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero tries to find the right mix on the back end. Veteran Nick Scott is also seeing a strong number of reps with the secondary. Like I told you earlier, Demani Richardson has been very impressive, but I do feel like this is Leighton Ransom's job to lose. He has done so well, and I do believe the Panthers want to play him if they can. So, like I said earlier, I called my shot. I think Leighton Ransom wins this job, and that's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I think that's best case scenario if you're a Panthers fan, that this dude does decide to come out here and steal the job away from these guys that have been in the league already. And it's, again, we had this conversation earlier. I think I'm extremely ecstatic by what we're seeing so far by these guys. We'll see how it translates this week. I think this week is going to be an interesting test nonetheless, no matter what. But I'm definitely interested in seeing how it goes.
Yeah, man. And then last but not least, this kicker position. My goodness. Similar to center, the kicker position seems to be pretty even so far. While Matthew Wright has been marginally better in front of the media, rookie Ryan Fitzgerald clearly has the upside outlook. The Panthers have been rotating the kickers daily in workouts with the Browns coming into town. The rotation could end up split between the joint practice and the preseason game. If that were to happen, both specialists would get their opportunities to differentiate themselves. Right, fair or not, needs to be noticeably better than Fitzgerald to win the competition. The rookie has a terrific leg, but he needs to show improved accuracy after a pair of 40-yard misses during FanFest at the stadium. And CK, it did not get better. Ryan Fitzgerald today was 1 of 5 on the skinny post. A couple of them would have been good on standard goalposts, but CK, that is by no means the stat line that you're wanting to see from the man who people are saying is essentially going to be our starting kicker going into the season.
Certainly not. I mean, granted, I take the skinny goalposts with a grain of salt. If it would have been good on standard goalposts, I think it doesn't matter whether it was in the middle or towards the right or to the left. As close to center as you can get is obviously better, but I'm sincerely not worried whatsoever from that perspective. I am certainly concerned about his performance in FanFest, in front of people where there's pressure involved. They were running it as like a overtime situation that would have tied the game up. And to miss that's a bad look, right? So we'll see if he can follow that up with a strong performance during preseason. But right now, I still think I agree with the upside, angle. Take the guy who has some rust, maybe some things to still learn, some things he can improve upon, and let that guy develop into the guy that you want to be on this team for a long time.
Yeah, and then shout out to White Chocolate Espresso. He sent this list of other kickers that are still available for the Panthers to sign. Robbie Gould, 40 years old. Mason Crosby, who's played with a bunch of teams, including the Packers. Greg Zuerlein at 35 has a powerful leg. My money would be on Brett Maher. He had a solid season for the Cowboys, going 29 of 32 on field goals, including 9 of 11 from 50-plus yards. If he's available, I would love to have him on the team. And, of course, Zane Gonzalez, but I'm not trying to retrace those steps, okay? I would much rather Nick Fitzgerald work out in some way, shape, or form, or sign Brett Maher if we're desperate to upgrade this kicker position, which will be important going into this year, man. You have to have a dependable kicker, and right now it feels like the Panthers just don't have one.
Yeah, it's going to be the Butker curse for the rest of our existence here, so we can get a guy who is able to be relied upon. I don't think, even watching FanFest, I'm not sure I'm confident with either of these rookies, even in extra point situations. He made his extra points, don't get me wrong, but in the moment, it felt like even before he missed his first, I was like, I'm just not sure that I was sitting in the corner, if you will, of end zone. And when you're sitting there, you actually see how far that extra point is compared to what it used to be. And it actually is significantly longer than it appears when you're on, television or what have you. Seeing it in a real environment like that puts it into perspective. You need to have a guy who's going to hit those 95% of the time, if not more, because that's a big kick. 1 point is a killer if you have to start trying to chase those losses as the game goes on.
It really is, man. Let's hope that we're able to sort that out in some way, shape, or form. CK, that is the show, brother. That's
we made it, dog. We somehow, with just two of us, we still found a way to drag this out 3 hours. Granted, 40 minutes of it was with a great guest. But it was the cool thing about it is it went by like a flash of the eye, because that means we're having fun. And that's hard to say in the past 3 years that we felt like we were having fun doing this, just because of constantly having to deal with the horrible situation. So
do shout out Tony Dunn. We missed you, brother. We'll see you again next Tuesday. CK, before we leave and get out of here, you already know there's one more thing we have to do. It's the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. You already know what to do. It's time to ice some fools up, CK. Let's do it.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
CK, do you have one off the top of your head, or would you like me to go?
No, I mean, I'm fine. I have one that I can throw out there. It's not a video involved, but
mine either.
I'm sure you guys have been aware of this whole thing going on down in Texas with regard to them redrawing the districts and what have you.
It's been such a shit show.
Let me give you a brief rundown. It's nothing overly complicated. It's just basically your, run-of-the-mill gerrymandering. But basically, they're redrawing districts in Texas. And there's no two ways about it, by the way. This is entirely just to get 5 extra seats for the House of Representatives.
And both Democrats and Republicans do this.
Right. So that's my point, right? So there's a lot of people in an uproar. So there's 2 sides to this coin I want to ice up, and it's both sides of this. Number one, it's this mindset. I'm fatigued, if you will, by the mindset that if you can't beat them, you've got to join them, right?
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating to me because I hold this mindset of you follow the rules, you do what's right, even though it's not necessarily wrong to do what they're doing. It is morally ambiguous, and it is clearly an attempt to just win, right? And
it's very underhanded.
It's underhanded, and it doesn't come across as a morally correct thing to do, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I also agree with the fact that the outrage coming from the left is hysterically hypocritical.
Didn't they run away?
Dude, yeah, well, it's number one, they ran from it and went to Chicago, which now there's an arrest warrant out for them, or at least some of them, with their seat potentially being on the line. It's a whole thing that's wild. But the fact that anybody who's on the left is upset by this, when this has been probably perpetrated by the left more than it ever has been by the right in our history of the United States of America and gerrymandering existing. The fact that it's a thing you're outraged now because it doesn't really benefit you is just purely hysterical, right? Right now, I am not a fan, and I haven't really been, of this mindset of fighting fire with fire, right? When it happens to your people, your side of things, everybody always takes this morally high ground, like, that's so wrong, you shouldn't do this. This is incredibly just against anything that is right in the world. But the first opportunity that we get to do it, we're going to do it back. And that just is incredibly exhausting of me to have to think about, because it just makes me realize that when everybody starts to operate this way, nobody is going to be able to. What is that statement? It's if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything, right? I think the same concept here is like everybody is starting to do the exact same thing, and they're losing their moral high ground. They're losing their ability to say that they are above reproach when it comes to things of moral, ambiguous, decisions, right? So I'm icing up people on either side of this that believe that doing this is correct, and that that the people who are doing this are the only ones that have ever done this, because we are beyond reproach as Democrats.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm icing everybody up.
It's so fucked up, because if one side's going to do it, the other side really has no choice.
I know.
But to do it, because you're talking about congressional seats, and that's determines votes in Congress. It's such a shit show.
Yeah.
Texas is going to do it, and then I believe Gavin Newsom said
He's already said he's going to counter it and get five right back.
It,
yeah, it's hysterical. It feels like, to me, and I don't think this in a real, like, violent way, but I almost feel like we're on the verge of a legit civil war. Like, it just feels like
people have been feeling that for a
point. And not just like from a race perspective, like legitimately a left versus right type of a situation. It feels like that division is becoming farther.
Sometimes
and farther.
It feels like they want that to happen.
Dude,
like it's so sad.
A reset, dude.
Dude, thank God we have football to distract us from the shit show that is American politics. Listen, my ice up is very short, simple, and sweet tonight. ML football, they post a lot of dumb shit on Twitter, but this might be one of the dumbest. They just did a uniform power rankings, and how about they have the Carolina Panthers listed at number 28? Bro, you are not going to sit there and tell me that 27 other NFL teams have better uniforms than the Carolina Panthers. What in the fuck are we talking about, dude? Don't you remember, like 10 years ago, the NFL Network did a poll on who had the best outfits in the NFL, and the Panthers narrowly beat out the San Francisco 49ers for the number one spot. Dude, this is the dumbest uniform rankings I have ever seen in my life. They have Houston Texans as a top 10. Am I weird for thinking that the Houston Texans don't even have that great of outfits?
Dude,
like,
no.
What are we doing?
No. Cody, I'll do you one better. Look at number 7.
What are we doing here, man?
Like, look at number 7.
What are we doing here, man?
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. It's literally a W, right? Like, it's just like, that's it, right? Yeah, you're right. What are we doing here? Green Bay Packers, this green G, like, come on now. Like absolutely. I agree. It's number one. ML football is literally just a clickbaiter and a rage baiter.
100%.
They're getting their engagement from rage, and they usually do 95% of the time. We've had too many conversations about this Twitter handle for them not to continue to do this shit, because this is exactly the reason that he's doing it. Is that we have these conversations like this. This is the number one reason this is happening. I guarantee you, he just put this into a random, generator. Hey, create a list of the NFL teams and just put them in random order, and then I'm going to put them as uniform power rankings.
And dude, I'm by no means a Saints fan at all, but to have them as the last team,
the Falcons.
No, they're the Saints.
The Falcons at 30. Like even the Falcons at 30. Like I hate the Falcons too.
Their new ones kind of suck.
Oh, I haven't
compared
seen
to
them.
some of their old the new Falcons outfits of the past 2 years, but still, dude, this list is absolute trash. Yeah, dude, I sup to ML football, dude. What are you doing? We know you're clickbaiting. How dare you disrespect our fire ass uniforms? I'm not just being a biased Panther fan. I really do believe that we have the best outfits and specifically the best colors of any team in the NFL, dude.
Yeah.
The black, blue, and silver and white. Just it's perfect, man. Could not get more perfect.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, buddy. C3 Legion. We love y'all, man. That is another C3 Panthers podcast in the books. This Friday, we will be live streaming and reacting to the Carolina Panthers versus the Cleveland Browns as they play their first preseason game live in Bank of America Stadium. Join the C3 podcast for that. Man, CK, this was an awesome show tonight. Thank you so much, brother. This has been a wonderful show. If y'all did not see it or you tuned in late, check out the start of the show where we interviewed Jamal Coker, father of Panthers wide receiver Jalen Coker. Very illuminating, awesome interview. He's a great guy. We're for sure going to have him on in the future.
Yeah.
CK, you are the man, brother. You know I love you, man. C3 Legion, you already know what we're going to do. Keep pounding, baby. Let's go.